Chapter 1017. Ning Guangyao sucked in a breath of cold air and nodded. Understood. Guangyao understands. It's good that you understand. Of course, I don't want to give up on you. But if you don't have any children, you won't be able to continue leading the Ning clan in the secular world. It's better to find someone to replace you as soon as possible. So, you better hurry up. The man patted Ning Guangyao's shoulder with his fan. The fourth, you have to put in a good word for me in front of the patriarch. Guangyao has been racking his brains ever since he took over the position of patriarch from his father. He has done many things for the family over the years. The man waved his hand. Don't worry, I'm just saying. After all, you haven't seen him yet. What if you find him tomorrow? Isn't that right? Yes. Ning Guangyao wiped his sweat again. However, the man changed the topic. If your son Guodong really can't be saved and can't have children, then it means the same ending. So, I can only say this much. You have to take care of yourself. Deep fear flashed in Ning Guangyao's eyes, but he could only nod silently. The man didn't continue this topic. After a moment of silence, he said, I heard the Yang family is in trouble. Ning Guangyao heaved a sigh of relief and forced a smile. That's right. Yang Gongming's background has been doubted by the outside world. Back then, there were indeed similar rumors, but after all, old Marshal Yang Yi was a person of virtue and prestige, so it disappeared without a trace. Who would have thought that after so many years, when the old people were almost all dead, there would be their descendants who would restore the truth? How credible do you think this is? Guangyao thinks that this matter is definitely true. However, according to the time of Yang Gongming's birth, it shouldn't be the information on the internet. His mother was seized by the invading army. After all, it should have been during the civil war in Huaxia. I'm afraid it was done by opposing warlords. After those people described Yang Gongming as a woke-up pirate, it was probably just to stir up the public's disgust. It doesn't matter if he's from Huaxia or from another country. As long as he's not from Yangyi, there's nothing to say about the Yang family. The man stared at Ning Guangyao evilly. You haven't told me why you're so sure. Ning Guangyao smiled and said, This matter can be guessed from the cripple I took in previously. Cripple? The man was confused. Ning Guangyao immediately told him about Wen Tao. This Wen Tao disappeared after the incident with Yanbuan. He had met the descendants of the Shui family in Zhonghai, and the Shui family was the descendants of Yang Ye's personal guards. He kept saying that he knew a secret that could destroy the Yang family, but he didn't tell me in order to save his life. I guess that it might be Yang Gongming's past, but I didn't show it. Now that he's suddenly disappeared and the Yang family is in trouble, it's most likely related to him. The man's eyes lit up. You did well. You didn't do anything and let them fight while we reap the benefits. That's what Guangyao thinks. This is a good thing. It's worth using him for the benefit of our Ning family. This military power has been in the hands of the Yang family for a long time, the man mumbled. Ning Guangyao nodded. Guangyao knows what to do. The fourth, don't worry. The man turned his fan and said, The Yang family has a kid called Yang Cheng. I heard that his cultivation is not ordinary. According to the rules, cultivators above the soul formation stage can leave Hongming's system. Therefore, Hongming most likely won't care about him. Be careful. Ning Guangyao's expression was somewhat complicated. The fourth, Yang Cheng defeated Yanbuan by himself. His strength seems to be extremely terrifying. Is it really okay to let him go on like this? The man coldly snorted. What's there to be afraid of? No matter how strong he is, he's just a kid in his 20s. It's already heaven-defying for him to reach the early stage of tribulation transcendence. How could the old monsters of Hongming's heaven stage be pushovers? What's more, our ancient family's cultivation techniques are mysterious. There are many magic treasures, and there are many experts. No matter how strong he is, can he be stronger than my third sister and big brother? Ning Guangyao nodded, and his expression became slightly calmer. The fourth is right. This time, even if the Yang family has Yang Cheng, they will definitely suffer a great loss. Even if we don't do anything, they will probably lose their military power. At that time, the Yang family members in the Beijing, Jiangnan, and Northwest military regions will all be removed. This way, Our Ning family will be able to rise to a higher level, and the Yang family will also be removed from the ranks of the four major families. You don't have to tell me about this in detail. Just do as you see fit. The man waved his hand. The situation now is different. According to Big Brother's instructions, I will send 2 soul formation stage disciples to protect you. As for the rest, it will depend on your own luck. Thank you, the fourth. The warm autumn sun enveloped the city of Yinjing. In this dry season, people felt sleepy early in the morning. In the hustle and bustle of the city, people went about their daily lives, but this morning was different from usual. Almost all the streets and alleys, from the dignitaries to the rich and powerful families, to the common people, were all discussing the explosive news of the Yang family in public or in private. As one of the important representatives of Huaxia's army for decades, and the previous chairman of Huaxia, who often appeared on television, was the only old man with the rank of marshal. Yang Gongming was actually born after his mother was defiled, and Marshal Yang Yi was actually infertile. If this was in a TV series, it could be seen as heroes don't care about their origins. But in reality, when someone suddenly told you that the person that everyone respected and loved was actually a bastard, or even a child left behind by an invader, it was definitely something that most people couldn't accept. In this ancient country, most of the time, the illusory bloodline was more important than the reality that they could see with their own eyes. Moreover, the impact of this news had already spread to the entire world. What made the public and the international media curious was that Huaxia's government didn't respond, and neither did the major families. As for the Yang family and Yang Gongming himself, they didn't respond at all. Even if this matter had become an arrow that had left the bow, there was no turning back. The entire world was waiting for an answer from Yang Gongming, or rather, an acknowledgement and explanation. At the same time, in the main hall of the Yang family's mansion, Yang Gongming wore a plain Chinese tunic suit and sat on the main seat, his expression calm. Yin Sanyang's eyes were filled with sadness as she stood quietly beside the old man. On the 2 sides of the table, there were more than 10 representatives of the various branches of the Yang family. Most of them were white-haired elders. The only one who was relatively younger was Yang Pajuan, who had just rushed back from the military hospital. His injuries hadn't fully recovered, and his hand was wrapped in bandages. The injuries on Yang Pajuan's face seemed to have recovered, but his expression was gloomy. It seemed like the shadow in his heart was still hard to erase. However, with such a huge incident happening in the Yang family, no matter how much he didn't want to see his father, he had to rush back to find out the truth. Gongming, everyone is waiting for you to give us an answer. Is it true or not? Asked an old man. Everyone's gaze was focused on Yang Gongming. Yang Gongming closed his eyes and sighed deeply, but he didn't answer immediately. Yang Pajuan couldn't help but say, "Third uncle, are you really going to believe it? How can my father not be Grandpa's biological son? If he's not the blood of the Yang family, why would Grandpa give such an important position to my father? Also, have you all forgotten what my father has done for Huaxia all these years? No matter how cruel he was to himself, his father was still his father." Yang Pajuan couldn't accept that Yang Gongming was being questioned by everyone in the family. "Pajuan, don't misunderstand. We're all from the Yang family, and we naturally wish for the best for the Yang family," another elder said. "However, during the war, your grandfather was leading the troops and your grandmother was in the rear. The Yang family was scattered all over the place, and no one knew what happened. Your father was born in the midst of the war, and the elders of the branch families weren't sure either. In fact, more than 40 years ago, there were some rumors in Beijing, but they disappeared because there wasn't any evidence. But now, with so many documents and information, we can't help but be suspicious. If the head of the Yang family isn't a descendant of a Yang family, wouldn't we be the joke of the world?" Yang Pajuan's face turned red and white, and he couldn't help but turn to look at his father. "Dad, say something. There's already a huge commotion outside. If this goes on, our Yang family will completely fall." Yang Gongming opened his eyes and slowly glanced at the people in the room. A faint smile appeared on his face. "I thought that I would bring this story to the grave for the rest of my life, but I didn't expect that there would still be a day when the clouds and fog would be lifted. As soon as he said this, everyone present was shocked. This, Gongming, you mean all this is true? How is that possible? If Uncle knew that you weren't his biological son, how could he have raised you and given you the position of the head of the family? Yang Pajuan was dumbfounded, and his face turned pale as he slumped on the chair, as if he had lost his soul. Chapter 1018. The distant relatives of the Yang family started to feel uneasy. After all, the backbone of the Yang family was still Yang Gongming. If Yang Gongming fell, it meant that the distant relatives, would lose their positions. Gongming, you can't joke about this. How could you not be a descendant of the Yang family? That's right, Gongming, have you lost your mind? How could something like this happen to the Yang family? Yang Gongming looked at the frightened elders and gestured for them to quiet down. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I don't want to hide it anymore. Actually, I've known since I was young that I'm not my father's biological son. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. Yang Pajuan clenched his teeth and his eyes were bloodshot. It was obvious that he was extremely nervous. Yang Gongming, on the other hand, was as calm as usual, as if the person he was talking about wasn't him. Everyone, you're also from the older generation of the Yang family. Third great uncle, you're a few years older than me, so you should have heard about my birth. Everyone held their breath and looked at third great uncle, who was the oldest in the room. Third great uncle, you must remember what happened back then the most. Why don't you tell us? Yang Gongming said with a faint smile. Third great uncle's face was stiff. He took a deep breath and his eyes flashed with memories. He said slowly, my father once said that Gongming was born prematurely at 8 months. He was worried that he would die prematurely. After all, during the war, when the warlords were fighting each other, we, the Yang family, as the People's Army, took the lead. Our family's belongings and food were all replenished for the military. It was during that time that we, the Yang family, established unparalleled prestige in the army. Only when our own people shed their blood and shed their lives will the soldiers sincerely listen to us. Gongming's mother was at the base in the southwest back then, while his uncle was leading the army in Jiangnan. The two families had decided to get married, but it wasn't until the civil war in Jiangnan was over that the uncle went to the southwest to pick up his aunt and returned to Yanjing to get married. Back then, someone said that Annie was bullied by the local warlords when she was in the southwest base, but everyone treated it as a rumor. After all, Auntie returned to Beijing safely, and the two of them got married without any problems. Indeed, after Gongming's premature birth, some people said that Auntie got pregnant before marriage and was already pregnant in the southwest, but who would believe that? At that time, our Yang family was in the limelight, and all the armies in the country looked up to us. The moment this rumor came out, it was immediately extinguished. At this point, the third uncle seemed to have lost the energy to continue. He looked at Yang Gongming with difficulty. Gongming, could it be that the rumor, I've already said that I'm not my father's biological son. Yang Gongming nodded. So the rumor is true. My mother was indeed raped by a warlord in the southwest base, and she got pregnant with me. What? Everyone stood up in shock. Even though they had already suffered a few blows, they were still shocked again. Yang Pajuan's eyes were already brimming with tears, and he closed his eyes dejectedly. Yang Gongming gestured for everyone to calm down. I know that it's hard for you to accept. This is also the reason why I haven't said it out loud, and why the Yang family hasn't made it public. Although I wasn't born by the invading army, I'm not my father's flesh and blood. Even my mother didn't know who that warlord was. Back then, the civil war in Huaxia was coming to an end. All the warlords fled in all directions, and the local warlords were considered bandits. They rushed into the base and took my mother by force, but they couldn't escape alive. They were surrounded by an army that just returned from outside. My mother fought back with all her might and used a hidden dagger to stab the warlord when he was trying to escape. However, she couldn't change the fact that she was raped. That means that you weren't born prematurely, but because you were pregnant long ago. Prematurely is just an excuse to cover up the truth. That's right, Yang Gongming admitted. You still have the cheek to say it. An old man stood up. Yang Gongming, you don't deserve to be named Yang. How dare you, an outsider, sit in the position of our Yang family patriarch for decades? Now, our Yang family's reputation is in tatters. You still have the cheek to say such a thing so calmly. Old Six is right. Since you already knew that you weren't the flesh and blood of the Yang family, you shouldn't have kept it a secret until today. You didn't even care about the Yang family. We've been trying to clear your name, but you're such a despicable person. The old men were filled with righteous indignation, and they began to curse at Yang Gongming. Yang Pejun looked at his father sadly, but he didn't know what to say. Yin Sanyang also frowned slightly, and she wanted to say something, but Yang Gongming stopped her. At that moment, a servant ran into the hall and bowed. Master, the Ning family, the Li family, and a few old leaders are here. Everyone's expression changed, and they didn't know what to do. Yang Gongming said lightly, "You're just in time, please invite them in." Seeing the servant invite the guests in, the old men were about to go crazy. Yang Gongming, what are you doing? If the other families find out about this scandal, we won't have the face to stay in Beijing anymore. How can the Yang family still have the face to hold the military power? I think he's trying to drag the Yang family down with him. Yang Gongming didn't say anything and picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip as if nothing mattered. This made the old men grit their teeth in anger, but there was nothing they could do. They were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Not long after, Ning Guangyao brought a group of government officials. Li Mozhen brought his son Li Yunpeng, grandson Li Dun, and a few military officers into the hall of the Yang family with solemn expressions. Suddenly, the spacious hall felt a little cramped. Fortunately, the servants had set up enough mahogany chairs, so they didn't feel neglected. Ning Guangyao was dressed in a formal suit, and his face was solemn, looking a little worried. Li Mozhen, on the other hand, looked amiable, as if he was just here to visit and drink some tea. When everyone sat down, most of their eyes were focused on Ning Guangyao. After all, among those present, he had the most say, and, as the premier, Ning Guangyao was the one who had to respond to all of Huaxia. Ning Guangyao seemed to be a little sad and sighed. "Sir Yang, about this matter, we've all heard and seen it. It's a pity, but we still have to be responsible for the people of Huaxia. What does Sir Yang have to say?" Before you came, this old man had already said everything. The truth is the truth. There's nothing more to say. With Yang Gongming's confession, the faces of the officials who came in were tense. A strange look flashed in Ning Guangyao's eyes, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Since Sir Yang has admitted it, then there's nothing to talk about. Old Marshal Yang, he has a good reputation, and we shouldn't talk about some shameful things after he passed away. However, the Yang family has an extraordinary status in Huaxia, especially since Sir Yang was once a leader of the older generation. I'm afraid that if we don't deal with this matter, it'll be difficult to appease the anger of the people. If you have something to say, just say it. Don't hesitate. Humph. Yang Pejun said disdainfully. Ning Guangyao ignored him and only looked at Yang Gongming with sparkling eyes. Yang Gongming thought for a moment, and just as he was about to speak, he saw a servant run out of the hall. "Master, Madam, and young mistress are back." Everyone present had different expressions, and most of them were puzzled, wondering what the two women were doing here at this time. Yang Pejun frowned, and Ning Guangyao seemed to be in a dilemma as well. Yang Gongming laughed and said, "Great, they're back at the right time. Let them in." Amidst the chatter in the hall, Guo Xuehua and Lin Ruoxi, who looked travel-worn, walked in nervously. Especially Lin Ruoxi, who rushed to Beijing early in the morning. She was wearing a pair of goatskin boots, black lace stockings, and a gray knitted hooded coat. Her hair was slightly messy. She seemed to be exposed to the autumn sun, and her face was flushed. No matter how calm she was, she could not help but stick close to Guo Xuehua when she saw a group of central leaders that could only be seen on TV. When she realized that Ning Guangyao was also present, Lin Ruoxi couldn't help but think of the scene after the banquet that night. She bit her thin lips tightly, and at the same time, it was difficult for her to raise her head. But it was precisely this kind of delicate and cold beauty that made the eyes of the slightly younger men present shine a little uncontrollably. Because the wedding banquet of the Yang family was strangely not publicized, they only knew that the Yang family found their eldest grandson and got married. But it was the first time that they saw Lin Ruashi. Most of them only hated that the grandson of the Yang family was so lucky with women, but they could only look on. Now that the Yang family was in a precarious situation, it was not to the extent that they could touch the women of the Yang family. Guo Shuihua appeared to be much calmer. After all, she had been honed for many years. She glanced at the silent Yang Pajuan and saw that his injuries seemed to have recovered a lot, and a trace of comfort flashed across her eyes. Yang Gongming said with a smile, "Shuihua, Ruashi, it's good that you're back. But why don't I see Yang Cheng?" Chapter 1019. Guo Shuihua tugged at Lin Ruashi's sleeve when she saw how nervous she was. Lin Ruashi was nervous. She looked at her mother-in-law in confusion. Guo Shuihua looked at her encouragingly and said with a smile, "Grandpa is asking about your husband. Why are you so nervous?" Lin Ruashi nodded and said, "Yang Cheng got off the plane. He said the traffic was too heavy, so he came back first." "Huh, too much traffic? Could it be that he flew back?" An official said with a smile. The others also laughed mockingly. After all, with Ning Guangyao around, it was not a big deal to make a joke. At this moment, a voice floated into the house. "Hey, how did you know I flew back?" "Who? Who is it?" Everyone present felt a chill down their spine. Was there a ghost in the middle of the day? "Yang Cheng, where are you?" Guo Shuihua looked around with a smile on her face. Yang Gongming looked at Yin Sanyang, who smiled helplessly and pointed to the roof. "Master, it seems like young Master Chen has been here for a long time. However, his cultivation is much higher than mine. I didn't notice him when he was on the roof." Yang Gongming couldn't help but scold. "Brat, you've learned to eavesdrop. Come down." Only then did everyone realize that the person who spoke was Yang Cheng. They saw a young man in a blue low-collared sweater and light brown loose pants outside the hall. He was chewing on a tomato in one hand and another in the other. No one knew when he had arrived, but he was walking slowly into the hall. This was the first time most people saw Yang Cheng. They frowned. His clothes were branded, but his appearance was ridiculous. He was eating a tomato. What kind of time was this? "You brat, you ruined my garden as soon as you came back." Yang Gongming, on the other hand, recognized that the tomato in Yang Chen's hand was personally planted by him. He instantly yelled in displeasure. Yang Cheng curled his lips and took another bite of the juicy tomato. There was still red juice at the corner of his mouth. "Old man, you're still so stingy at your age. I told you last time, I only ate a few of your tomatoes. You flew from Zhonghai to Beijing early in the morning and didn't even prepare lunch. What's wrong with me eating a few of your tomatoes?" Yang Cheng walked in front of Lin Ruashi and handed another tomato to her. Lin Ruashi stared blankly at the man. Although they had been together for 2 years, and this guy had a strong resistance to all kinds of looks, she didn't expect him to walk into an occasion like this while munching on a tomato. "Hey, baby, why are you in a daze? It's fresh. Eat one, it's a vitamin supplement." Yang Cheng giggled. Lin Ruashi still hadn't reacted. She only felt that the scene in front of her was a dream. Yang Cheng had no choice but to hold the tomato in his mouth and open Lin Ruashi's soft palm with his hand. Then, he stuffed the tomato in for the woman to grab. The entire audience was deathly silent. Many of the Yang family's elders had already started to twitch. It was obvious that they were quite angry. As Yang Cheng's elders, the elders naturally wouldn't take the initiative to see Yang Cheng. Therefore, they hadn't seen him in the past few days in Beijing. This was the first time they met, and they were already gnashing their teeth in hatred. Everyone glared at Yang Gongming with extreme dissatisfaction. A few traces of anger flashed across Yang Pajuan's eyes, but he didn't show it like before. "He is Yang Cheng? Your grandson?" Third great-uncle asked angrily. Yang Gongming nodded and said with a smile, "That's right, it's him. It's indeed a bit out of place, but this child isn't too bad." "Not too bad? That wasn't too good either?" Such an evaluation coming from Yang Gongming's mouth was enough to cause everyone present to be taken aback. "I think you're old and muddled. It's fine if you're not a descendant of the Yang family, but you still want to hide it from us and pass it down to this little ruffian? Are you trying to put our Yang family in a pit of fire?" Yang Gongming raised his eyebrows and said, "Sixth brother, what are you saying? How could I let the Yang family enter a pit of fire? I am the same as you, a member of the Yang family. Yang Cheng is my grandson and also a member of the Yang family. Of course, it's all for the good of the Yang family. Cut it out. You've already admitted that you're not Uncle's biological son. That's fine too. Pejuan, Yang Cheng, Yang Lai, all of them are no longer members of the Yang family. Today, all of you have to get out of this house. We're going to appoint a new head of the family." For a moment, everyone echoed loudly, pointing angrily at Yang Gongming and Yang Cheng. Guo Shuahua and Lin Ruoshi stood aside quietly, looking worried. But in this kind of situation, as the women of the family, they couldn't say anything. Yang Cheng, on the other hand, calmly finished his tomato, as if he hadn't heard anything. He just looked at the group of people present with interest. Yang Gongming seemed to be lamenting something. After a sigh, he raised his voice and said, "Everyone, if you have any thoughts or decisions, why don't you wait until I finish talking about what happened in the past? What's there to talk about? Since you're not a member of the Yang family, what right do you have to sit here and talk?" Old Six said disdainfully. Yang Gongming smiled and said, "Whether I'm a member of the Yang family or not, it's not up to you to decide. My father knew that I wasn't his biological son, but he still passed the position to me, so I'm a member of the Yang family." "Umph. That's because Uncle is biased. He can't be a real man, and he even hid it from everyone and gave a bastard like you to the position. It's a disgrace to the Yang family." Old Six shouted. Yang Gongming's face turned green. "Old Six, I've tolerated you a few times, but you dare say that about my father. Don't get too carried away." Speaking of his late father, Yang Gongming's face darkened for the first time. The old man, who had been in a high position for a long time, finally became serious. Suddenly, the pressure from his aura made it hard for the people nearby to breathe. Ning Guangyao and the others also looked serious. They knew very well that Yang Gongming wasn't as kind as he looked on the surface. The old man had the rank of marshal, and that was earned when he was young. Naturally, he had his iron blood. The corner of Old Six's eyes twitched a few times. Looking at the other elders of the Yang family who were all looking at him encouragingly, he threw caution to the wind and said fiercely, "What? You're showing your true colors now that I've hit your sore spot? Isn't that the truth? You father and son worked together to deceive everyone in the Yang family. The Yang family's face has been completely lost because of you." I said. Yang Cheng suddenly raised his voice and covered up Old Six words. With a somewhat cold look in his eyes, Yang Cheng turned to look at Old Six and said, "Can you stop shouting?" I said, "We'll talk after the story. Do you have dementia?" You little bastard. You dare to say?" Old Six was about to point at Yang Cheng and scold him, but he didn't have the chance to finish his words. Everyone only saw a blur, and Yang Cheng's figure disappeared from where he was standing. When he appeared again, Yang Cheng was standing next to Old Six. Guo Shuahua and Lin Ruoshi screamed, only to see Yang Cheng's right arm was raised high, and in his right hand there was a shocking bloody head with a frozen expression. This head was Old Six, because the head had been forcibly pulled off the old man's neck. Blood kept flowing out of the arteries. As if pushed by an invisible force, the headless body froze for a moment, and then collapsed. "Kill, murder! He killed Old Six! Quick, catch him!" The whole place was in an uproar. Ning Guangyao, Li Mo's hen, and the rest looked solemn, while the officials around them were all pale with fright, and some even wanted to vomit. Although they knew that Yang Cheng was not a kind person, they didn't expect him to twist the head of the old man from the Yang family without saying a word. As for the elders of the Yang family branch, they all looked at Yang Cheng in fear and did not dare to move a muscle. The servants and guards outside the Yang family were excited. They were naturally loyal to the main family of Yang Gongming, so Yang Cheng's ruthless killing attracted more people. Yang Cheng casually threw Old Six's head away, and the head rolled a few times on the stone floor staining it with blood. Shaking off the blood on his hand, Yang Cheng said to the servants, "If there's a dog in the house, just feed it. Don't waste money on cremation." A few retired soldiers' guards quickly came forward to dispose of the severed body, very clean. Seeing this, everyone broke out in a cold sweat, and no one dared to say anything. Facing such a temperamental person, they were afraid that they would be the next to die. Chapter 10:20. Yang Pejuan looked at Yang Cheng's back with a complicated expression on his face. Emotionally speaking, he felt extremely relieved that the old man who dared to insult his father and himself was killed. What Yang Cheng did was exactly what he didn't dare to do. But the more he did it, the more humiliated he felt. Even though Guo Shuahua and Lin Ruoshi had seen many bloody scenes, they were still women after all, and they still felt disgusted. Li Mo's hen and his children looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Li Dun, who was unusually quiet, rubbed his chin and gave Yang Cheng a thumbs up from afar. Yang Gongming acted as if he didn't see someone die at all. He said emotionlessly, "Since you can calm down, then continue to listen to this old man's rambling. I haven't finished talking about what happened back then." This time, no one dared to interrupt him. Yang Gongming leisurely took another sip of tea before continuing his story. "Everything I know was personally told to me by my father after I became an adult. Back then, after my mother was defiled, she suffered a fate worse than death. Not long after, she found out that she was pregnant. She didn't have the face to see my father, who came from Jiangnan to the southwest base to bring her back to Yanjing. So in private, she asked my father to give up the engagement. After all, she was no longer a virgin, and she felt guilty to my father. And my father actually lost his fertility in a war before that. Originally, he wanted to call off the engagement with my mother so that she wouldn't become a widow. But after knowing that my mother had suffered such a trauma, my father changed his mind at the last minute and decided to marry my mother as planned. Because my father knew very well that if he still chose to give up the engagement at the lowest point of my mother's life, it would be tantamount to ruining my mother's life. Actually, my parents had only met each other a few times before that. However, their engagement and how much they cherished each other made me feel deeply moved." Hearing this, Guo Shuahua and Lin Ruoshi's eyes became moist. Their emotional thoughts allowed them to immerse themselves in the simple feelings of war. Yang Gongming continued, "It's like two people sucking on each other's wounds. When my father was in the most pain, he met my mother at the lowest point. The two of them returned to Beijing and encouraged each other, accompanied each other, and slowly they got over the difficulties. When I was born, just as you all know, in order to protect the reputation of the Yang family, my father dismissed the guards who knew the inside story and used the power of the family to cover up a lot of rumors in the outside world. My mother once asked my father why he was willing to accept her, who was no longer pure. Didn't he feel unhappy because of my birth? My father said to her, 'You are my betrothed, the wife I am going to marry, and the children my wife bears are naturally my children. Even if this child isn't my blood, it's because I failed to protect my wife. I will raise this child with more love than my own flesh and blood to make up for my mistake.' Because of those words, my mother gave birth to me with peace of mind, and she and my father became a husband and wife, living together for the next 20 years. The hall was so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. Old Yang, when did you find out that you're not the biological son of the old marshal?" Li Mo's hen asked softly. Yang Gongming smiled and said, "My father told me that when I was 10 years old." "What? The old marshal told you?" Li Mo's hen was surprised as well. Yang Gongming nodded. "At that time, I was just starting to understand things, and I was shocked that my father would tell me such a thing. Now that I think about it, it might be my father's foresight. Paper can't hide fire, and some things will be exposed sooner or later, just like today. Uncle, it's really hard to fathom." Third great-uncle sighed. Yang Gongming smiled and said, "When my father told me, I cried on the spot. I cried very hard. I'm just a 10-year-old child. Even if I understand things early, I'm still a child. How big of a blow was it to know that my parents weren't my own? I asked my father, 'How can I not be your biological son? If I'm not a descendant of the Yang family, how can I survive in this family? Everyone will laugh at me and look down on me. My father caressed my head and told me sincerely, Gongming, whether or not you're a descendant of the Yang family has nothing to do with whether or not you're his biological son. You're the child I love the most because you're the only child my wife gave birth to. Do you know, when you were a baby, your mother didn't have enough milk, so I carried you and asked the servants and other families I didn't know, asking them to feed you. Every time I saw you sleeping soundly, I felt the happiest, happier than when I went to war. Every time you fell sick, even if it was a small cold, I felt my heart drop. I might as well bear the pain for you. That's how I got here. In my eyes, there's no one more precious than you. I believe that when I'm old and pass the Yang family to you, you'll definitely be more outstanding than me. Yang Gongming's eyes reddened as he said this, and there was a deep sorrow in his eyes. Yin Sanyang sighed as she patted the old man's shoulder. After resting for a while, Yang Gongming continued, I was terrified at that time. I told my father that I was worried that I wasn't your biological son, and that I wouldn't be able to bear such a heavy burden. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to do well. My father told me solemnly that as a descendant of the Yang family, it's not because I'm related to the Yang family that I'm a descendant of the Yang family. If you want to become someone that the world trusts and respects, you must first believe in yourself that you're the most precious person in the world. The reason why a family can maintain its glory for hundreds of years is not because it's related by blood. Yang Gongming paused and turned to look at Yang Pejuan, who was listening quietly. Pejuan, I've always been teaching you, but you never really understood. Until today, do you know what is the true glory of family? Yang Pejuan heaved a sigh of relief and smiled bitterly. Father, I don't know. My mind is in a mess. I'm going crazy. The elders of the Yang family were also confused, and the atmosphere in the hall was heavy. Yang Gongming couldn't hide the disappointment in his eyes. He looked at Yang Cheng, who was silently leaning against the door frame, and asked with a smile, Yang Cheng, what do you think it is? Everyone's gaze turned to Yang Cheng. The afternoon sun shone on the young man, giving off a faint glow. Yang Cheng laughed self-deprecatingly. You're asking me? How could I know so many great principles? I only know that bloodline, background, and tradition can't compare to the toughness of a fist, and even more can't compare to having a backbone. I only know that only those who don't admit defeat can survive. It's that simple. Ha! Yang Gongming laughed heartily. Limo's hen and the other elders also shook their heads and laughed. What a tone! Yang Gongming patted the armrest of the chair, and a glint flashed in his eyes. The glory of a family isn't maintained by generations of bloodline. Bloodline? That's nothing. Our Yang family relies on every generation. The members of this family must understand that they are the glory of this family. Only when you think highly of yourself will others respect you. A descendant of the Yang family must believe that you are the pride of this family at all times. Only with this kind of belief and this kind of you can continue the glory of the family. Ever since I, Yang Gongming, took over as the head of the Yang family, I have been promoted to the rank of marshal. My achievements have pushed Huaxia's economy forward by at least 20 years, and I have students all over the world. Who among you is more qualified than me to sit in my current position? Who among you dares to say that I have let down my father's expectations? I have a clear conscience. His solemn and resonant words shook the hearts of everyone present. Ning Guangyao gripped the armrest of the chair tightly, his face ashen, while the other officials seemed to be fascinated. Limo Zhen turned around to look at Li Dun, who was in a daze, and chided softly, Silly boy, now you understand why I agreed to marry Tang, except Li Dun was startled, and a trace of emotion appeared in his eyes. He nodded with a smile. Chapter 10:21. The elders of the Yang family's branch family all looked ashamed. They collapsed in their seats, looking extremely lonely. Yang Pejuan sat on the chair in a daze, his lips trembling. He couldn't help but feel both excited and regretful. Pejuan. Yang Gongming smiled at his only son and said, Do you know now the pain in my heart when Yang Cheng was called a bastard? You look down on Yang Cheng, but Yang Cheng is at least your own flesh and blood. As for me, I'm not even my father's flesh and blood. Back then, father was able to raise a child like me who had nothing to do with him, but you didn't even dare to admit that you were his own flesh and blood. Do you know how disappointed I was? Father, I know that you think you are looking at the big picture, and this is also my fault. But back then, I did it for the sake of the Yang family, for the sake of Hua Xia's political stability. You, on the other hand, are unwilling to admit Yang Cheng's identity for the sake of your own standing committee seat. You can't deny the difference. Yang Pujuan's face darkened. He lowered his head silently for a long time, as if he had let go of some knot in his heart. He sighed and said, Dad, I know I was wrong. Guo Xiuhua, who was at the side, wiped away her tears. She looked at her husband, who had finally admitted defeat under the continuous blows and stimulation, and seemed to have vented her anger. At this time, Ning Guangyao, who had been silent for a long time, spoke again. Master Yang, you have a deep father-son relationship with the old marshal, and you have a deep sense of righteousness. We have all seen it and remembered it. However, the current situation is not something that we can calm down by admiring the Yang family's true feelings and glory. Right now, the media and the people of the entire country are watching us, the Yang family, in the eyes of the people of Huaxia. Since you have already confirmed that you are not a descendant of the Yang family, then in the eyes of the people of Huaxia, the Yang family is no longer that trustworthy. For a moment, the atmosphere in the hall became tense again. Many officials and generals also nodded silently. They also deeply agreed. Although Yang Gongming's words had won everyone's respect, it was impossible for him to convince everyone in the country and the whole world. It would only be seen as an excuse. If he ignored it, things would definitely get out of hand. After all, Huaxia was being ridiculed by the media all over the world because of the Yang family. Everyone in the Yang family looked embarrassed. Now that things had come to this, they didn't have the face to fight with Yang Gongming anymore. After all, their wealth and glory were all bestowed by Yang Gongming. Ning Guangyao had a righteous look on his face. Eunuch Yang, there has to be a conclusion to this matter today. Otherwise, I won't be able to hold a press conference at the State Council and explain it to the people of the country. Everyone looked at Yang Gongming, while Yang Gongming looked at Yang Cheng, who was leaning against the doorframe. Yang Cheng, what do you think? Everyone looked at Yang Cheng again. Just now, when Yang Gongming asked Yang Pujuan, he couldn't answer Yang Pujuan. Although Yang Cheng was a little inaccurate, it was obvious that he was closer to Yang Gongming. Everyone admired Yang Gongming's foresight. Logically speaking, this eldest grandson hadn't been by his side since he was young and had just been found not too long ago. Yet, Yang Gongming had decisively eliminated all objections and wanted to hand the Yang family over to this young man. Now, it seemed that Yang Gongming had not made a wrong judgment. Yang Cheng already felt bored. Hearing that he was being asked, he turned to Ning Guangyao and said, Premier Ning, what do you think we should do? Just say it. Ning Guangyao seemed to have expected this. He gestured to the other officials present and said, I've discussed it with a few of my colleagues. Right now, what the people are most disgusted with is that the Yang family has concealed their background, but still occupies most of the military power in Jiangnan, Yanjing, and the Northwest. Moreover, the generals of the Yang family are all over the country. This kind of situation made the people of all places feel uneasy. After all, the Yang family had already lost their integrity, bloodline, and international reputation. If we want to give the people an explanation, this military power, we need to deal with it. Li Mo's hen snorted coldly. Premier Ning, why didn't I participate in the discussion you mentioned? I remember that I, Old Li, am still considered a member of the standing committee. Ning Guangyao wasn't angry. He smiled and said, Old Li, I'm sorry. This matter was rather rushed. Old Li is in the Security Bureau, so I didn't have time to inform you. Humph. Why don't you just say that you want to remove the military power? Why waste so much breath? Yang Pujuan said disdainfully. Ning Guangyao had a helpless look on his face. Pujuan, you and I have known each other for many years. I have always been impartial. Don't think too much about it. Whether it is or not, you know in your heart. Yang Pujuan sneered. Enough. Yang Gongming shouted in displeasure. What Premier Ning said is also one of the ways to deal with it. Everyone discuss it. What are you arguing about? Yang Pejuan seemed to be especially unconvinced by Ning Guangyao, so he turned his head away and didn't say anything else. At this moment, the people in the lobby saw that Yang Cheng, who was standing at the door, had his hands in his pockets and was laughing by himself. Yang Cheng laughed very happily, as if he had heard some particularly funny joke. He laughed until his stomach hurt. Yang Cheng, what are you laughing at? Ning Guangyao squinted his eyes and asked. Yang Cheng waved his hand, took a deep breath, stopped laughing, and said, I just feel that your words make it seem like you understand the common people very well. I really wonder if you were giving an explanation to the news media or the common people. What's the difference? We give an answer. The media will inform the people. It's nothing more than that, Ning Guangyao said indifferently. Yang Cheng shook his head. Save it. The internet is so developed now. Which country's leader isn't teased? The President of the United States took liberties with an intern in the White House and asked a woman to give him a dumpling. He wasn't even pushed off the stage, and he didn't see how much the Americans wanted to revolt. Now, it's just a retired old man who suddenly found out that his father isn't his own. Do you think the common people will run to your state council to shoot you because of this? You're right, but this is Huaxia, not the United States. The situation and culture are different, Ning Guangyao said. It is indeed different. As far as I know, their income is much higher than the residents of Huaxia, and their lives are also monotonous. They're the type of people who have nothing to do all day long, so the president's family is still like monkeys, kept in a white room and watched. Unlike the common people of Huaxia, we are afraid of being investigated when we give birth to a child, and we have to fight for a place to go to school. We are worried that our children won't be able to study well, and we are even more worried that our children will graduate from famous universities with low wages. We are afraid of being laid off from work, afraid of being caught in the unspoken rules when we take up a job, and we have no place to live if we live, and we have no place to put our ashes if we die. In some places, even eating is a problem. It's already a blessing that we don't starve. How can we have so much time to pay attention to this country's affairs? Could it be that the Yang family is all biological and they can grow a piece of meat? Besides, you people hold a meeting and come up with some ideas, and you only show it on TV. Do you think the common people know what it is for? If I remember correctly, in the previous dispute with the island, you guys ignored the people's demonstrations and kept shooting empty cannons. That's called the people's grievances, the people's anger. But didn't you guys handle it well? This time, there are no demonstrations or demonstrations. It's just the whole world ridiculing him. A retired old man is really innocent. Although my old man didn't tell you that he's not my biological son, no one has ever asked him about it before either. The group of people who were ridiculed and implicated, didn't say anything, and you guys are going to make a move. Ning Guangyao's face alternated between red and white. He clenched his teeth, but couldn't say anything. A few officials from a Ning faction looked troubled as well. After hearing what Yang Cheng said, it really seemed like the matter wasn't that big of a deal. Yang Gongming leisurely picked up his teacup and took a sip. He said to Yin Sanyang, Sanyang, the tea is cold. Add some hot water. Ah, yes, master. Yin Sanyang was listening happily and nodded with a smile. Everyone finally understood that the grandfather and grandson of the Yang family weren't anxious at all. They were just watching the show. Guo Xuehua and Lin Ruoshi looked at Yang Cheng's nonsense, and they were both angry and amused. Such a serious matter was almost turned into a comedy by Yang Cheng's words. Yang Cheng continued, I know it's not easy for you guys. People will die in wars with foreigners, and it's not good to have people die. Although it wasn't your son who died, it's fine to drag it out. After a long time, people will naturally forget about it. But I'm puzzled. You guys can drag out that kind of thing. Why are you so anxious when it comes to the Yang family? Everyone looked at each other, and no one dared to speak. In the end, it was Ning Guangyao who frowned and said, Yang Cheng, then how do you think we should explain this matter? Yang Cheng yawned. It's simple. Tell the truth and explain the situation as it is. What? An official exclaimed. How can we do that? If the outside world confirms it, There will be more people coming out to cause trouble. Yang Chen rolled his eyes. You bunch of people with ulterior motives. You're all standing there in a daze after listening to the old man's story. If this part of the past is made public, the people will definitely be more convinced. Everyone was silent. Yang Cheng's words seemed to make sense. The two generations of the Yang family were indeed inspiring, but they still didn't look too good when they were called all in a daze. Chapter 10:22. Seeing that no one said anything, Yang Cheng sneered. No matter what, even if the Yang family hands over the military power, it won't fall into the hands of the commoners. The commoners won't get any benefits at all, so who would really care about it? I think those who are unwilling to give are most likely trying to seize the military power. As for who it is, everyone knows. Things have been made very clear, and many people knew what was going on, but they still intentionally didn't look at Ning Guangyao's side. Indeed, if the Yang family really handed over the military power, not only would they fall out of the ranks of the four major families, but they would also be in a worse situation than the Tang family, which had suffered a great loss. Although the Tang family had lost Tang Zhichen, at least they didn't suffer any losses in business. But if the Yang family lost their military power, they might even be inferior to a second-rate family. And the military power couldn't belong to the Li family alone. After all, the Li family had a large number of special forces and the Security Bureau, and the other families couldn't possibly be a match for the Ning family. In the end, the ones who were trying to seize the military power were the officials of the Ning family. The scene was quiet for a moment, and everyone was discussing how to end the situation. At this time, Yang Chung smiled and said, Everyone, I won't hide it from you. My wife's Yulei International has set up an entertainment company and a movie department. I was worried about not having enough material to make a blockbuster. I plan to first write a memoir about my old man's story and then make a movie. It'll be the story of two generations of the Yang family. You see, we have all kinds of gimmicks, popularity, gossip, war, love, family, suspense, you name it. If this movie is made, how much money will it make? Everyone was petrified, looking at the young man who was laughing proudly at the door, as if they had seen a ghost. Guo Xiuhua was just praising her son, but when she heard this, she couldn't help but scratch her face, unable to bear to watch. Yang Cheng happily ran to Lin Ruoshi's side, hooked his arm around Lin Ruoshi's shoulder, and said proudly, Wife, what do you think of my idea? This time, you have to say that I have a business mind, right? Lin Ruoshi blushed when she heard this. She couldn't help but feel embarrassed. At this critical moment, this guy was talking about work. Let's talk then. Why drag me into it? It makes me seem like a capitalist who values money as much as my life. In fact, Yang Cheng's idea was not nonsense. Since the matter of the Yang family had already been made public, it would be more suspicious to hide it. If this period of history was embellished in the form of a famous family's biography, it would be given more heroism and the brilliance of humanity. On the contrary, it would be possible to turn the disgraceful past into a glorious history. A trace of darkness flashed in Ning Guangyao's eyes, but the situation was already under Yang Cheng's control, and he couldn't think of any way to force Yang Gongming to hand over his military power. Helpless, Ning Guangyao could only say, In that case, let's draft a plan and hold a press conference to explain the matter, but Master Yang must be present. Yang Gongming didn't object. This is my own matter, of course I won't shirk it. But Ning Guangyao changed the topic. After this matter, if anyone in the military raises any objections, I hope that Master Yang can face it calmly. After all, many generals are serving the Yang family's troops because they admire old Marshal Yang. Now that Master Yang is no longer old Marshal Yang's blood relative, they may choose to make changes. In other words, since you, Yang Gongming, are not a true descendant of the Yang family, there's no need for those people to follow you. Ning Guangyao's words were tantamount to openly trying to poach him. Yang Cheng sneered. Premier Ning, I feel that anyone with a normal brain wouldn't have such unnecessary thoughts, unless they're tired of living. Ning Guangyao's face tightened. He frowned and said, Yang Cheng, are you threatening those generals? Threat? Who am I threatening? Yang Cheng laughed sinisterly. I didn't say who it was, unless someone is deliberately courting death. Everyone present felt a cold air fill the air. Yang Cheng's smile was completely telling everyone that whoever dared to take advantage of the situation or betray would probably be no different from death. Just now, Yang Cheng didn't say a word and killed the old man from the Yang family's branch family without any scruples, causing everyone to not dare to have the slightest bit of disloyalty, especially the old man from the Yang family's branch family. They all hardened their hearts to go back and tell their juniors not to have any second thoughts. Although Yang Gongming was also an iron-fisted person, he wouldn't kill them as casually as Yang Cheng. Yang Gongming, on the other hand, was happy to see this scene. He rapped his knuckles on the table and said, "Since the matter is almost settled, I won't send you off. Everyone, please leave." Everyone was also tactful. Originally, they had come to the door to denounce the crime, but they had long since disappeared. If they stayed any longer, they would only feel afraid. One after another, after Ning Guangyao left with a group of officials, the members of the Yang family also left. However, Li Mozhen and his two grandsons stayed behind and walked to Yang Gongming with a smile on their faces. "Old man Yang, you're really lucky to have a grandson like this. I think you can rest easy now," Li Mozhen said with a meaningful look. Yang Gongming glanced at the lazy Yang Cheng and shook his head with a sigh. Fortune and misfortune come hand in hand in this world. This brat is quite capable, but the trouble that comes with him will definitely not be small. I'm just taking a gamble. Li Mozhen nodded in agreement. Even an idiot would know that the enemies that Yang Cheng would have to face would definitely be on a different level from those that ordinary people like them would have to face. Let's not talk about these troublesome matters. Tomorrow is our Li Dun's wedding. Although it's a little rushed and not very grand, your whole family has to come. Yang Gongming couldn't help but laugh. You stayed behind just to talk about this. What else is more important than our only grandson's wedding? Li Mozhen said matter-of-factly. Yang Gongming laughed heartily. Fine, but I'm an honest man. I'm not like other people who want to suck up to you. There's no way you'll get a big red packet from me. Li Mozhen smiled slyly and looked at Lin Ruoshi. You don't have money, but your granddaughter-in-law is one of the richest women in Huaxia. She'll definitely be very well off. Lin Ruoshi didn't know how to react when she was suddenly mentioned. When Yang Cheng heard this, he immediately said, unhappily, "I was wondering why Li Dun was so stingy. So it's because you taught him. How dare you call me stingy? Old Yang, you're too much. I even treated you to ramen last time." Li Dun yelled. It would have been better if he hadn't mentioned it. Now that he did, Li Mozhen and Li Yunpeng's faces turned green. For a moment, the members of the Yang family couldn't help but laugh. The atmosphere in the hall was joyous and harmonious. At that moment, Yang Pejuan didn't participate in the conversation. He looked a little dispirited as he silently walked back to the backyard. Guo Xiuhua was also amused by Li Dun, but when she saw him walking back from the corner of her eye, she couldn't help but turn around and follow him. In the hall, Yang Cheng and Li Dun were bickering and the atmosphere was heated. Behind them, the courtyard of the Yang family was quiet. Yang Pejuan had suffered too many ups and downs in the past few days. The turmoil in his heart had impacted his life and values like never before. He suddenly realized that the world wasn't what he imagined it to be. He suddenly realized that he didn't understand the people around him. It wasn't a good feeling. The wasted years had smoothed out his edges, making the man look a little handsome despite his thinness. He was not as sharp, mighty, and strict as he was when he was the commander-in-chief. Walking through the garden path, they entered the pavilion in the backyard of the Yang family. Yang Pejuan looked at the towering old locust tree in a daze. "What are you thinking about?" A voice came from behind him. Yang Pejuan turned around and looked at his familiar yet strange wife, the woman who had accompanied him for more than 20 years. "Why are you here?" "It's a Li family's wedding tomorrow. Although we're close, you still have to prepare the gifts." Guo Xiuhua smiled. "It's the same old routine. Just tell the servants to do it." Yang Pejuan nodded. He didn't know what to say. Before he met Guo Xiuhua, he had so many questions. But now that they were alone, he didn't know where to start. You. The two spoke at the same time. They couldn't help but look at each other and smile. Have you been feeling better recently? Have you recovered from your injuries? Guo Shuehua asked first. Yang Pejua nodded and moved his arm. Almost. The medical care in the military hospital is good. How about you? How are you doing in Zhonghai? Guo Shuehua smiled. It's just living. It's quite peaceful. A few days ago, Ruashi adopted a girl named Lanlan. It's like having a granddaughter. It's been interesting. Speaking of this, Guo Shuehua felt that it was inappropriate. After all, Yang Pejuan was alone in the hospital. Yang Pejuan understood and smiled. It's okay, as long as you're happy. I suddenly feel that it doesn't matter anymore. Guo Shuehua was stunned. Pejuan, you really think so? Why would I lie to you? Yang Pejuan shook his head and mocked himself. I've been through so much and I've thought it through. It's been half my life. It's time to stop and rest. Guo Shuehua was touched. I've been talking about you for so many years, and you've finally thought it through. What power, what position, aren't they just asking for trouble? If you can't even live a good life, you really don't know what's the point of asking for it. Forget it. Let's not talk about it anymore. Then, what do you plan to do in the future? Live with us. Chapter 1023. Looking at Guo Shuehua's anxious eyes, Yang Pejuan was stunned. He asked with a trembling voice, Shuehua, you don't hate me? Guo Shuehua smiled and shook her head. It's impossible to say that I don't hate you at all. When you wanted to kill Yang Chun, I even wanted to poison you to death. But a day as husband and wife means a lifetime of love. We've been together for so many years, and now that I've calmed down, I can't help but think of you. Shuehua, Yang Pejuan's eyes were a little red. I'm sorry, but I still can't be with you. Why? Men are weird. I don't hate Yang Qing now, but I think Yang Cheng is the same as me. He doesn't want me to be by his side. Yang Pejuan smiled. I plan to accompany my father more in the future and teach in the military school when I'm free. I won't be going back after I retire from the army. Guo Shuehua wanted to say something, but she thought about it carefully. This might not be a bad thing. She nodded and said, all right, I'll travel between Beijing and Zhonghai in the future. When I'm free, I'll bring Lanlan to visit you. After all, you're that kid's grandfather. Grandfather? Yang Pejuan sighed. I'm really old. Guo Shuehua giggled. You look like you're suffering from dementia. Yang Pejuan smiled awkwardly. The autumn wind blew. The two of them stood at opposite ends of the pavilion in silence. After a long time, Guo Shuehua ran her fingers through her hair and smiled. If there's nothing else, I'll head over first. I don't know what's going on outside. Yang Pejuan nodded. Seeing that Guo Shuehua was about to leave, he called out again, Shuehua. Huh? Guo Shuehua turned around. I want to apologize. I've always doubted you, I know. Guo Shuehua understood and smiled. Have you always suspected that I've always put Ning Guangyao first because I liked Ning Guangyao back then? Did you think that I married you because I couldn't be with Ning Guangyao? Ew. How did you know? Yang Pejuan was shocked. Silly. You always go against Ning Guangyao in front of me. Do you think I can't tell? Guo Shuehua said helplessly. Don't think too much about it in the future. We're already in our 50s. We've been through so many ups and downs for so many years. Don't you know me? Guo Shuehua. It's not like no one wanted me in the past. Why didn't I look for someone close to me? Why did I choose a stranger like you? Back then, the Yang family was in a precarious situation. If it wasn't for you, would I have looked for your identity? Yang Pejuan was embarrassed. But now that the knot in his heart was resolved, he smiled sincerely as if he had been relieved of a heavy burden. The change of events was just like the good and bad relationship between a husband and wife. No one could predict what would happen in the next second. Early in the morning, the whole of Huaxia, even the whole world, was ready to see the Yang family make a fool of themselves. But in the afternoon, everyone immediately realized that things were not as bad as they thought. After his retirement, Yang Gongming made a rare appearance on the live broadcast screen. He slowly and methodically told the truth of the past. Yang Gongming narrated in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. It was impossible for people to look at him with disdain. It was the first time for Huaxia that a descendant of a founding father, such a wealthy family, gave such a speech in front of the whole country and the whole world. Such a frank attitude made the majority of the people lean towards the side of support. Especially the concept that there was no distinction between nobility and inferiority, and that heroes should not be questioned about their origins. It made the public feel that the Yang family was closer to the people's hearts. Since they had won a good reputation, the so-called situation of being deserted by family and friends would naturally not happen as the ill-intentioned people had expected. Even more wonderful things were yet to come. That afternoon, the oil price of the whole of Huaxia was lowered by 7%. When such a thing happened at a time when the oil price had been high, the attention of the whole country was quickly drawn to it. Later, the neighboring countries that were in conflict with each other all made a gesture of retreat. They issued a series of documents to admit defeat and withdrew their respective fleets. This matter was much more meaningful to the people of Huaxia than the fact that Yang Gongming was the son of someone else. For a moment, everyone shifted their attention away from the Yang family, and this hot topic gradually faded away. The one who made the series of plans behind the scenes was, of course, Yang Cheng. It was actually relatively easy for those countries to issue some documents to admit defeat and withdraw their fleets. After all, there was enough deterrence, and those countries had essentially not suffered any losses. On the contrary, the drop in oil price had made Yang Cheng spend a lot of money. The whole country consumed billions of liters of oil every day. To maintain the low oil price for a while, it was impossible to do without spending tens of billions. This money seemed a little excessive, but in Yang Cheng's view, it was nothing more than buying influence. As soon as Yang Gongming finished the press conference, the national oil price dropped by 7%. Even if everyone thought that it was nothing, it was inevitable that they would be involved. This drop continued for a few days. For the Yang family, this was tantamount to sticking a layer of gold paper on them. The people did not care who gave birth to you or whose family you belonged to. As long as there was something tangible, it was a good thing. Therefore, when Yang Cheng gritted his teeth and asked Ron to allocate the funds, he was quite determined. However, when he spent the money, he hugged Lin Ruoxi and wailed that he was going bankrupt, and no one knew about it. As for Yang Cheng's idea of writing his memoirs and making a movie, Yang Cheng assigned it to the people of Yanjin Entertainment Company. He still hoped to make some money by making a movie. While this matter was being forgotten, the wedding between the Li family and the Tang family, as well as Li Dun and Tang Xian, went ahead as scheduled. Even though the Tang family was not as powerful as before, they were still much stronger than the average second-rate family. Needless to say, the Li family's status was almost unshakable. Therefore, even though Tang Xian was the daughter of the Tang family's branch family, it was enough to attract many people's attention. On the day of the wedding, the Li family's usual style was simple and elegant, but not extravagant. Only those who were considered influential in Yanjin were invited to the banquet. Most of the others were relatives of the Li family. Ordinary second-rate families and ministers didn't have the chance to attend. In the wedding hall of the state guest house in Yanjin, Tang Xian's father held the hand of Tang Xian, who was wearing a white wedding gown, and walked gently till he done in a white suit. Even though there weren't many people, the applause was very enthusiastic. After all, they had to show respect to the Li family. However, Tang Xian wasn't holding a fresh flower in her hand. Instead, she was holding a colorful ice cream cone. The guests were completely confused by this. Only Yang Chun and a few others who were in the know felt that it was fresh and interesting and also deeply touched. Although Li Dun was wearing a white suit and was tall and strong, he still wore a black eye mask, which made him look out of place, but also special. The moment the bride and groom looked at each other from afar, there was a mixture of emotions that only the two of them could clearly understand. Along the way, everything that had happened in the past was like a dream or a smoke. Before Lin Ruoxi came, she had asked Yang Cheng about the two of them. Even just listening to it, she felt that it wasn't easy. Seeing this scene, she couldn't help but feel touched. Not far away, Kai Ning, who came with her father, Kai Yunqing, looked at Tang Xian with envy. From a woman's point of view, even though Tang Xian had taken a detour, her ending was the one that all women yearn for the most. She wanted to find a man who loved her more than she loved him, a man who could love her enough to forgive everything. In comparison, even though she had bravely found her true love, she couldn't be like Tang Xian and have a wedding like this. On the other hand, Tang Wan, who was attending the wedding with Tang Dang and the other members of the Tang family, was very open-minded. At her age, Tang Wan didn't feel any regrets about getting to know Yang Cheng. After all, she didn't have much hope in the past. Seeing that her beloved cousin, Tang Xen, was finally able to find happiness again, her face was filled with joy. Before attending the wedding, Yang Cheng was conflicted about whether he should give Li Dun a suitable gift. But no matter how he thought about it, the Li family couldn't possibly be poor, so buying a few rare treasures wouldn't make much sense. In the end, it was Lin Ruoshi who reminded him that Yang Cheng prepared a gift, but the gift had to be given in private. This made Yang Cheng a little impatient in his seat. Chapter 1024. For Yang Cheng, socializing and exchanging pleasantries were extremely boring. Hence, the wedding and the banquet were busy from morning to night, making it especially difficult for Yang Cheng. Fortunately, not many people dared to take the initiative to speak to Yang Cheng, which saved him a lot of trouble. However, Lin Ruoshi seemed to pay more attention to such occasions. Together with Guo Xiuhua, she accompanied Yang Gongming to meet many of the rich and influential people in the military and government. To Lin Ruoshi, this was no different from a kind of training. Although she was indeed good at doing business, she was still lacking in social skills. Yang Cheng initially wanted to take the time to give the Bodhi pills to Kai Ning and Tang Wan. However, the two women were busy with their own things and had no intention of leaving. So, he could only give up. When it was late at night, most of the guests had left. Tang Wan and Kai Ning also went back with their families. With Lin Ruoshi around, the women were too embarrassed to talk to Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng was a little helpless, but he finally let out a sigh of relief. He brought Lin Ruoshi to Li Dun and his wife. Li Dun had been drinking for the whole day, but he did not seem to be getting drunk. It would be a miracle if a Xiantian full-cycle cultivator could get drunk. Tang Xian's wine was almost all stopped by Li Dun. After all, Tang Xian was pregnant. This was something that most of the guests knew. When he saw Yang Cheng and his wife, Li Dun curled his lips and said, "Old Yang, you're too much. I haven't seen you for the whole day. Why are you only showing up now? It's not like you don't know that I'm the center of attention wherever I go. How can I steal your limelight?" Listening to the man's shameless words, Lin Ruoshi's gums were sore. Li Dun hesitated for a moment, then he chuckled and said, "Since it's my big day, don't disgust me. Let's talk about something practical. How many red envelopes did you give me?" "0. Yang Cheng said without hesitation. "What? 0? That means I didn't give you a red packet," Yang Cheng said proudly. Li Dun yelled, "Damn you, Yang. I'm only treating you to a bowl of ramen because I'm a poor wretch, but you, a rich bastard, aren't willing to pay a single cent?" "I don't have any red packets, but I do have some other things." Yang Cheng smiled mysteriously. Li Dun's eyes lit up. "What is it? Take it out and see if it's a big diamond of more than 10 carats. Yang Cheng smiled and turned to Lin Ruoshi. "Honey, Li Dun is the same as you. He also wanted a gem as big as a cow's eye." "I don't want it," Lin Ruoshi mumbled, but she did mention it in her memory. Tang Xian felt a little embarrassed. She couldn't help but pinch Li Dun's waist, but Li Dun couldn't care less. Yang Cheng pointed outside the hall. "It's outside. We'll have to drive there. If the bride and groom aren't in a hurry to consummate their marriage, let's go for a walk." Still keeping me guessing, Li Dun pouted unhappily. He turned to Tang Xian and asked, "Xian, are you tired? If you're tired, we won't go." Li Dun was a cultivator, so he didn't feel tired. But Tang Xian had never practiced martial arts, and she was pregnant. She needed to take good care of her. Tang Xian felt a tinge of sweetness in her eyes. Li Dun was always thinking about her, and she cherished him very much. She had almost missed out on a man like him for a long time, and even now, she felt like a fool. Fortunately, both of them were satisfied with the outcome. "Let's go and have a look. I'm curious too." Tang Xian smiled. After making the final decision, Yang Cheng gave some instructions to the Li family. The four of them left the guest house together. Since Li Dun and Tang Xian had returned to their white suits and wedding gowns. They wore festive clothes, so they didn't look awkward when they went out. Although Lin Ruoshi didn't get along well with Tang Wan, she seemed to have a good impression of Tang Xin, Tang Wan's cousin. They chatted a lot along the way, which was rare for Yang Chung. The traffic in Yanjin wasn't too heavy at night. After half an hour, they arrived at a commercial area outside the third ring road. After getting out of the car, the two young couples held hands and walked on the neon pedestrian street. The bleak night breeze brought with it a variety of smells from the street. Amidst the hustle and bustle, there was a unique rhythm that made people feel at peace. After walking for about 10 minutes, Li Dun remembered business and asked, "Old Yang, where's the gift you mentioned? You're not trying to trick us, are you?" Yang Chung glanced at him and pointed at a coffee-colored shop with white LED lights about 10 meters away. There was only one word on the sign: ice cream. "That's it." Li Dun and Tang Xin looked at each other, confused. "Isn't that an ice cream shop? Is the gift the ice cream?" Tang Xin asked. Li Dun's face twitched. "Xin, old Yang must know that you like ice cream, so he purposely gave it to you. All right, let's go in first." Yang Chung ignored him and led Lin Ruoshi into the shop. When the four of them entered the ice cream shop, Li Dun and Tang Xin realized that the interior of the ice cream shop was luxuriously decorated. It was purely retro and nostalgic. Paired with Italian style, the design of flying arches and cross tiles, coupled with the rich colors of Baroque style, it was a dazzling sight. In the middle of the shop was an ice cream processing station. Two Caucasian ice cream chefs and a few helpers were busy preparing ice cream for the customers. All the ice cream was stored in exquisite glass containers. From afar, they could smell the rich fragrance of vanilla and cocoa. It was obvious that the quality of the ice cream was excellent. "Mrs. Li, do you like this place?" Yang Chung asked jokingly. Tang Xin blushed and nodded, her eyes sparkling. "I've been here before, but I didn't know there was an ice cream shop like this. It opened not long ago. It's owned by a French ice cream chef. After working for the Vivoli family in Italy for more than 10 years, he came to Huaxia to open this shop. The quality of the ice cream here is very high," Yang Chung explained. "Old Yang, you're not really here just for ice cream, are you?" Li Dun was hurt. Yang Chung and Lin Ruoshi looked at each other and smiled at Li Dun's sad face. "Honey, tell him. I can't bear to see his face anymore." Yang Chung shook his head helplessly. Lin Ruoshi smiled. "I heard from Yang Chung that Tang Xin likes ice cream. Li Dun, I'm sure you like it too. There's no point in giving you jewelry, so we found this ice cream shop and bought it as a gift for you." This shop? Li Dun was stunned. Tang Xin didn't know how to react either. After a while, she waved her hands and said, "I don't think that's a good idea. It's too expensive. The shop alone costs more than 5 million, and this ice cream shop is so high-end. This gift is too expensive. Ha! Xin, you don't have to save money for them. It's not even a drop in the ocean for old Yang." Li Dun smiled. "I was wondering why you're so stingy." Hee. "It's fine. Even if you don't want to give me a red packet, I can just give it to the ice cream shop. I'll just sell it, and it'll still be money." "Don't you dare!" Tang Xin reprimanded. "How could you do such a rude thing? This is their kind gesture." Li Dun smiled awkwardly. "Xin, I was just joking," Tang Xin scoffed. "You wouldn't dare to." Li Dun lowered his head and looked like an obedient child. He was just joking. If Tang Xin really panicked, he would lose more than he gained. Yang Chung secretly despised him. He was indeed a henpecked man, but it seemed like he wasn't any better. "All right, stop fooling around," Lin Ruoshi said in a clear voice. "I've asked someone to leave the shop's name blank. You can just think of a name you like and install the LED lights." "Ruoshi, you're so thoughtful." Tang Xin smiled gratefully. Seeing that both husband and wife were satisfied with the gift, Lin Ruoshi felt a sense of accomplishment. Then the four of them sat in a booth by the window, ordered their favorite ice cream, and chatted enthusiastically. Perhaps it was because Tang Xin was young, had the temperament of a young girl, and had a pure mind, but Lin Ruoshi was very relaxed when they talked. The two women started talking about Hello Kitty's collection, then the hottest Korean dramas. They discussed which man deserved to die, which woman was a bitch, and all sorts of indignation. They completely ignored the two men. Tang Xin used to be responsible for taking care of Tang Zhichen. She had nothing better to do in her free time, so she had a lot to talk about with Lin Ruoxi. Later on, they talked about the child in Tang Xion's stomach. They talked about how to raise and educate a child. Initially, Tang Xion was a little embarrassed that the child in her stomach wasn't Li Dun's, but Li Dun didn't care about it anymore. Yang Cheng and Li Dun could only stare at each other and order 2 more ice cream. When it was almost midnight, Tang Xion took out her phone and showed Lin Ruoxi some photos. Ruoxi, look, this is a photo of Li Dun when he was young. Grandpa showed it to me. Isn't he very honest? Tang Xion giggled as she pointed at a chubby boy in a pair of baggy shorts holding a wooden rifle on his shoulder. Li Dun wanted to dig a hole and hide in it. He cried, Xion, you can't bully your husband like this. I'm just looking, it's not a big deal. It's not like we're going to the newspapers. Tang Xion rejected Li Dun's complaint and continued showing Lin Ruoxi other photos. Later on, Tang Xion even shared her own photos with Li Dun. She even made a composite of her and Li Dun's childhood photos. It was clear that Tang Xion had a lot of free time on her hands. Lin Ruoxi's interest was piqued as well. Women were still full of gossipy nature. Things that were meaningless in the eyes of men were full of topics to talk about. In the end, Lin Ruoxi took out her phone and showed Tang Xion the photos she had collected. Most of them were old photos from when she was young or when she was still a student. They were saved on the internet, so it was easy to find them. Tang Xion couldn't help but exclaim excitedly, Ruoxi, you were so beautiful when you were young. If you were a child star, you would be famous. Yang Cheng was naturally interested as well. He looked at the photos of young and inexperienced girls and said proudly, What are you talking about? Do you think those celebrities can compare to our Ruoxi? That's true. Tang Xion nodded in agreement. All right, Yang Cheng, where are your photos? We've all taken them out. You're the only one left. Don't you dare run away. Yang Cheng's face froze. The smile on his face disappeared, and he fell silent. Chapter 1025. All of a sudden, the atmosphere turned cold. Lin Ruoxi suddenly realized something and looked at Yang Cheng with a pained expression. Yang Cheng lowered his head and smiled. I would like to show you, but I really don't have any. Tang Xion also realized that she had asked something she shouldn't have. She looked at Li Dun awkwardly. Old Yang, don't take it to heart. Xion doesn't know about your past, Li Dun said sincerely. Yang Cheng waved his hand. I'm not blaming her. A normal person would have some photos as a souvenir. I just remembered it. I'm really special. He left the Yang family when he was a baby and joined Zero. He grew up in a dog-eat-dog environment. A souvenir? He would never have thought of it, even in his dreams. A soft and delicate hand gently caressed Yang Cheng's thigh. Yang Cheng turned his head and saw Lin Ruoxi looking at him with teary eyes. Don't worry, I'm not that weak. Yang Cheng comforted her, but he did feel terrible inside. After the silence, the 4 of them were no longer in the mood to chat. Seeing that it was getting late, they left. Yang Cheng drove the couple back to the Yang family with Lin Ruoxi. Along the way, Lin Ruoxi looked at Yang Cheng, who was driving quietly. She said softly, You don't feel good, do you? Yang Cheng didn't deny it. He nodded. A little, but it's no big deal. You know I'm not a big deal. Lin Ruoxi was silent. She wanted to make Yang Cheng feel better, but she didn't know where to start. She didn't want to make a woman feel good either. When they got home, Yang Gongming and the rest were already asleep. The servants didn't dare to disturb them. The entire Yang residence was quiet. When they walked back to their room, Lin Ruoxi coughed lightly. It was probably because of the sudden drop in temperature that her throat felt uncomfortable. Seeing this, Yang Cheng took off his jacket and draped it over Lin Ruoxi. He then held Lin Ruoxi's hand and carefully checked her body. Lin Ruoxi knew that Yang Cheng was giving her a checkup. Smiling, she said, I'm fine. It's just a cough. I've been training for a long time, and I even practiced the technique you taught me. I won't catch a cold, will I? That's hard to say. Your foundation isn't stable. If you overwork yourself, you might catch a cold. After Yang Cheng finished checking, he smiled. There's no problem. Actually, Even if there's a problem, with me around, you'll recover immediately. Lin Ruashi said sweetly, then I'm really lucky. I married a husband who could be a bodyguard and a doctor at the same time. That's true. Yang Chung smiled proudly. He walked to the door and opened it, inviting Lin Ruashi in. Lin Ruashi was about to enter the room when she paused. She turned around and looked at the sky above the courtyard. There were a few stars in the sky. What's wrong? Yang Chung was puzzled. Lin Ruashi looked back. Hubby, let's watch the stars for a while. I don't want to sleep yet. Yang Chung thought to himself that he wasn't going to sleep. He still had serious matters to attend to. However, a woman's romantic nature began to take effect again. Yang Chung couldn't be cruel and interrupt her. Feeling a little regretful, Yang Chung held Lin Ruashi's hand and walked to the pavilion in the courtyard. He sat on a bench and let Lin Ruashi sit on his lap. He gently hugged her. The night was as cold as water. The courtyard was silent. Only the husband and wife sat in the silence of the night. It was quite comfortable. The location of the Yang residence was quite far from the brightly lit city center. Thus, they could still see quite a few stars. However, it couldn't be said to be the Milky Way. Rather than saying that they were watching the stars, it would be better to say that they were enjoying their time in the cold wind. After a long silence, Lin Ruashi suddenly turned her head and leaned on Yang Cheng's shoulder. She muttered, Hubby, I miss Lan Lan. Yang Chung didn't expect that the woman's first words would be about her daughter, Lan Lan, who was in Zhonghai. Is that chubby little girl really that nice? Do you really miss her that much? Yang Chung was a little jealous. She's not a chubby little girl. Lan Lan can eat a lot, but she's not fat. That's baby fat. It will slowly disappear when she grows up. Lin Ruashi defended her daughter. Her pretty face was filled with longing. I don't know why either. I just like Lan Lan. I think if we have our own children in the future, I can only give them this kind of love. Yang Chung stroked the woman's hair. Is it because you saw that Tang Xin is pregnant that you want to have children again? A little. Lin Ruashi didn't deny it. In the darkness of the night, she pretended that no one saw her blushing face. Even Yang Chung could see it clearly. Yang Chung sighed. This matter can't be rushed. For someone like Li Dun who's at the full cycle of the Xiantian realm, the chance of him having another child with Tang Xin isn't too small. But for people like us, it's really hard to wait until you reach the semi-god realm. Yeah, I know. I'll try my best. Lin Ruashi nodded. After a moment of silence, Yang Chung asked, Do you still want to sit? Do you want to go in? Lin Ruashi shook her head. Let's sit for a while longer. I like it this way. It's quiet, and I can hear your breathing. You can still hear me screaming when you're in bed. Yang Chun muttered in his heart and whined a little bitterly. A hard-working tiger and wolf man married a literary, educated girl. Even if he couldn't help it, he had to endure. Lin Ruashi, on the other hand, was lost in her own little world. She asked leisurely, Hubby, what do you think of the employees of Yulei? What's their family life like? Aren't they very different from us? Yang Chung smiled bitterly. How can it be the same? They live in commercial housing, unlike our CEO Lin, who can buy a house worth tens of millions. No, it's not about the house they live in, Lin Ruashi corrected him. I'm talking about the rhythm of their life. Rhythm? Yeah, like the women go home from work first, then go to buy groceries and cook while waiting for the man to come home. Or they go to school to pick up their children and have parent-teacher conferences from time to time. Yang Chung was confused. Why did you suddenly think of this? Lin Ruashi mumbled, I don't know either. I just suddenly feel a little envious of the lives of ordinary people. Although they live a very ordinary life, they don't have to be afraid or worry about it. Yang Chung reached out and pinched Lin Ruashi's cheek. Silly girl, you'll probably get tired of that kind of life in 2 days. How could that be? It's very warm, Lin Ruashi said in disbelief. Yang Chung smiled and said, If we were an ordinary couple, I reckon that we would only need to say 3 sentences a day. 3 sentences? Yang Chung nodded. Which 3 sentences? Yang Chung said, When I get home, I will first say, Let's eat. Then I will ask, Where's the child? Finally, I will say, Let's go to sleep. Then the day will pass. Lin Ruashi couldn't help but burst out laughing. She rolled her eyes at Yang Chung. How could it be so exaggerated? It's just an analogy. After all, life repeats itself every day. Lin Roashi pursed her lips and said with a smile, "If that's the case, then my answer will definitely be 3 sentences. Hurry up and eat. The child is asleep, and hurry up and go to sleep." Yang Chen couldn't help but laugh. Although he was joking, it was also quite sarcastic. Just as Yang Cheng was about to carry Lin Ruashi back to his bedroom, his divine sense suddenly sensed movement from afar. Yang Chen frowned and raised his head to look at the horizon in the south. Lin Ruashi also noticed Yang Cheng's strangeness and asked curiously, "Hubby, what's wrong? It's already so late at night. Looks like I won't have any peace." Yang Chen sneered. "2 VIPs seem to be looking for me tonight. Speaking of which, maybe I'll get something good again." Chapter 10:26. Lin Ruashi did not know what was going on. She followed Yang Cheng's gaze and looked to the south. Nothing seemed to be out of place, but suddenly 2 figures appeared on the roof in front of her. It was a man and a woman. The man was tall and wore a black robe. He looked cold and arrogant. The woman was beautiful and had a gloomy expression. She was dressed like a nun and held a horsetail whisk in her hand. The man and woman were Yin Feiyun and Yin Feiyu, who were looking for Yang Cheng. After all, Yin Feiyu remembered Yang Cheng's appearance. After she described it in detail, the people of Huang Stage and Hongmeng found out that it was a perfect match for Yang Cheng. "Hubby, who are they?" Lin Ruashi asked worriedly when she saw that they didn't look friendly. Yang Cheng patted the woman's hand and asked her to stand behind him. "I can't explain it in a short time, but I'm sure they're not here to treat me to supper." On the roof, Yin Feiyun frowned when he saw how calm Yang Cheng was in the pavilion. He realized that he could not see through Yang Cheng's cultivation level. They had investigated Yang Cheng's background before they came. The people of Hongmeng did not care about his identity as a disciple of the Yang family. However, Yang Cheng was only in his 20s. For a cultivator, this was not something that could be achieved with ordinary comprehension. However, no matter how high Yang Cheng's comprehension was, he was just a cultivator. The 2 siblings had their heaven stage father in Hongmeng and the entire Hongmeng behind them. Naturally, they were not afraid of Yang Cheng. "Feiyu, is he a good person?" Yin Feiyu said with a murderous look. "That's right, big brother. This is the guy who destroyed my misty rain nunnery and almost killed me." "Hey, old nun, you were the one who tried to kill my woman. I tried to talk you out of it, but you didn't listen. Why are you accusing me?" Yang Cheng sneered. "Shut up. It's your fault for barging into my cultivation ground. Brother, ignore him. He's an arrogant brat. He's taking advantage of us." Yin Feiyu scolded. Yin Feiyu nodded and said in a deep voice, "Brat from the Yang family. I'm Yin Feiyun, an earth-rank elder of Hongmeng. My sister, Yin Feiyu, had a misunderstanding with you, and you destroyed her place of cultivation. You even tried to kill her. As her brother, I'm here to make you pay." Yang Cheng sized Yin Feiyun up. Yin Feiyun's cultivation was indeed much higher than Yin Feiyu's. Although Yang Cheng did not have a clear concept of cultivation, he was certain that Yin Feiyun had completed the Kuei water tribulation of the 6th frost water tribulation. In other words, he was a level higher than Yin Feiyu. However, since he could see through the depth of his cultivation, he should be able to deal with him. It was a pity that the other party was an earth-rank elder of Hongmeng. He must have an extraordinary background. If Yin Feiyun were to attack recklessly, he might not be able to kill him. It would not be worth it if he caused trouble. It seemed like he had to be careful. The commotion here had already alarmed the guards of the Yang family, and many of them had already started to move closer to this place. The retired guards of the Yang family were all armed. At this moment, there were more than 10 rifles aimed at the 2 people on the roof. At the same time, snipers were already in position in a few hidden corners. Yin Feiyun snorted. "You haven't been in the secular world for a long time. How dare a mere Yang family act so arrogantly?" "Young Master Chen, who are they? Should we ask Master to come?" one of the guards from the Yang family asked. Yang Cheng frowned. There was no reason for Yang Gongming not to know about the commotion. Moreover, Yin Sanyang was here. She would definitely come over soon. They cannot be dragged into this mess. "Everyone disperse. Don't interfere," Yang Cheng ordered sternly. This was not a confrontation that ordinary people could participate in. Yang Cheng did not want his loyal subordinates to die in vain. The guards were puzzled, but they did not forget to obey. They quickly retreated far away. Yang Cheng thought for a moment before he raised his head. I've already destroyed the nunnery. If you want to rebuild it, I can build one for you. However, my woman was ambushed by you. You even tried to steal my techniques. What should I do about that? Nonsense. I only wanted to take Qiang Wei as my disciple. I only used the medicine to make her forget about the secular world and focus on her cultivation. I don't have such filthy thoughts. Yin Feiyu said disdainfully. Yang Cheng sneered. Since you refuse to admit your mistake, there's no need for us to continue this conversation. Just tell me why you're here. I'll play with you. Yin Feiyun said, We, the people of Hongming, don't care about worldly affairs. However, it's different this time. First of all, you're not from the secular world. You've already passed the soul formation realm. You should be under Hongming. However, you're from the 4 major clans, so you're an exception. Secondly, you're not just an outsider. She's my biological sister. If you don't apologize for what you did to my sister this time, others might think that our Yin family is easy to bully if they hear about it. Therefore, not only do you have to agree to rebuild a misty rain nunnery for my sister, but you also have to hand over your cultivation techniques as compensation. What a black-hearted pair of siblings. How could they say something like that? They clearly think that I don't dare to go against Hongming and that I'm a rookie in the cultivation world. They're purposely making things difficult for me. They don't want anything else but the cultivation techniques that I came up with. They must think that I can use the Nanmingli fire technique because I taught it to Qiang Wei and the rest. It seems like they have nothing to do with the hidden clans that tried to snatch the endless resolve restoration scripture. What Yang Chun didn't expect was that for the Yin siblings, there was no need to talk about principles at all. To them, getting the benefits as soon as possible and going back to cultivate was the right thing to do. A disciple of a secular family, even if he was in the tribulation passing stage, couldn't go against them. Why would they beat around the bush when they didn't care about someone at all? What if I don't hand it over? Are you going to kill me? Yang Cheng sneered. Yin Feiyu sneered. You think we don't dare to? My brother's cultivation is much higher than mine. You used the Nanmingli fire to beat me last time, but that was a trick. My brother isn't afraid of that. We, Hongming, don't interfere with the secular world, but since you've reached the soul formation realm, you should be excluded. Moreover, you offended us first, so no one would dare to say anything even if we killed you. How can a robber be reasonable? I think Hongming is just a den of robbers. Although Yang Cheng had his considerations, he knew that a kind person would be bullied. Since the other party clearly had no intention of negotiating, he wouldn't give them any face. How dare you? It seems like you're going to do this the hard way. You've humiliated Hongming, so it's not too much to kill you today. Yin Feiyun was filled with righteous indignation. Suddenly, the Sumeru ring on his hand flashed, and a unique-looking longsword appeared in his hand. The longsword's body was like moonlight, and there was a gap in the middle that was as wide as a finger. The 2 ends were narrow, and the middle was wide. Under the starry sky, it shone with a faint glow like a glazed sword. Yang Cheng's heart skipped a beat. The grade of the sword was definitely not low, especially its strange shape. There must be some kind of special, magical treasure hidden in it. Initially, when my sister was bullied by you, I only needed to give you a warning and compensate you with some compensation. However, you're not willing to give in and even spoke rudely. Don't blame me, Yin Feiyun, for enforcing justice on behalf of Hongming. Yin Feiyun had already known that Yang Cheng did not use any magical treasure, so he guessed that Yang Cheng, as a rogue cultivator, did not have any magical treasure. Yin Feiyun, on the other hand, had a higher chance of winning since he had a mid-tier magical treasure. Yin Feiyu saw that her brother had taken out the sword, and her eyes flashed with confidence. She looked at Yang Cheng mockingly and said, Kid, you'd better hand over your cultivation technique and kowtow to apologize. My brother's Kongming sword can even defeat a cultivator in the 2nd stage of the 6 Frost Water Tribulation. A cultivator in the 2nd stage of the 6 Frost Water Tribulation would have to be at the Dark Water Tribulation. Could Yin Feiyun rely on a magical treasure to defeat a cultivator of a higher level? Yang Cheng's heart was racing. There's no need to say more. After we kill him, we'll capture his woman. We'll find a way to get the cultivation technique. Yin Feiyun was straightforward. He had even thought of what he would do after killing Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng's face darkened. Although he was indeed a strong enemy, he could not tolerate such humiliating words. Without another word, Yang Cheng leaped into the air. You'll be the ones to die. Yang Cheng suddenly appeared a few feet away from Yin Feiyun. He turned into a shadow in the air and swung his right hand at Yin Feiyun's head. Chapter 10:27. Although they were both at the crossing calamity stage, and not the 9 heavenly thunder tribulation, it was impossible for Yin Feiyun to kill the two siblings as easily as killing ants. Even though Yang Cheng's body was 10 or even 100 times stronger due to his experience and special cultivation technique, his opponent had the true core strength of a crossing calamity stage cultivator. His body was protected, so he wouldn't have the upper hand. If it was an ordinary human body, Yang Cheng could crush into powder with the power of heaven and earth. However, it was difficult for him to deal with someone above the innate realm. It was impossible for him to deal with someone above the soul formation realm. The two siblings in front of him had to fight fiercely. Yin Feiyun retreated quickly and dodged Yang Cheng's attack. Then, he swung his Kongming sword at Yang Cheng's waist. A translucent ray of light swept past. Yang Cheng suddenly jumped up and dodged the attack. Yin Feiyun, who was standing at the side, took out her Tai horsetail whisk without hesitation. The horsetail whisk turned into thousands of white hair whips that flew toward Yang Cheng's body. 1 against 2. You're courting death. Although Yang Cheng was burning with anger, his state of mind during the battle was extremely calm. Unhurriedly, a ray of Nanming leaf fire surrounded his body and suddenly exploded. Countless white hair whips were scorched and blasted away, scattering in all directions. However, the Tai horsetail whisk was indeed mysterious. After it was damaged, new white hair grew out from the damaged parts and danced in the wind. Second sister, there's no need to do anything. I can handle it myself, Yin Feiyun said with a relaxed expression. Yin Feiyun giggled. Since you're so interested, I'll just watch from the side. The people in the courtyard who were watching the battle in the sky were dumbfounded. How could an ordinary person imagine such a scene? Flying in the sky and burrowing into the ground? Is this young master Chen an immortal? Lin Ruoshi's hands were tightly clenched in front of her chest. The thrilling battle in the sky made her extremely worried. She couldn't care less about the gorgeous battle scene. She only hated that she could only stand there and not be of any help. At this moment, the woman deeply understood why Yang Cheng kept urging her to cultivate diligently and not be lazy. This was not only for the sake of beauty and longevity, but it was also a matter of life and death. In the air, Yang Cheng was fighting with Yin Feiyun with leaf fire burning around him. He kept attacking the latter's vital parts. Although Yin Feiyun was not as fast as Yang Cheng, he could force Yang Cheng back a few inches with his Kongming sword and always find a chance to counterattack. Yang Cheng was a little annoyed. Although the Nanming leaf fire was a heavenly fire, it was only the lowest heavenly fire among the 3 Yang real fire tribulations. It could restrain Yin Feiyun, a cultivator at the tribulation crossing stage, who was at the first level of the 3 Yang true fire tribulation. However, it was difficult to restrain Yin Feiyun, a cultivator at the first level of the 6 frost water tribulation, the Kuei water tribulation. The Kuei water that Yin Feiyun encountered during the tribulation transcendence was more powerful than the leaf fire. Even if Yin Feiyun was burned by the leaf fire, it wouldn't have much effect on him. Moreover, Yin Feiyun couldn't burn him at all. Yin Feiyun didn't use his full strength at all. He waved his sword and released a wave of glazed sword energy, which brought along gusts of cold wind. Yang Cheng created a leaf fire shield and was only pushed back a few feet. He wasn't hurt. It seems that your cultivation technique is really miraculous. It can really use the Nanming leaf fire continuously. It's a pity that you haven't mastered it yet. This cultivation technique should be more powerful. It's such a waste to give it to you. I must take it today and find a suitable owner for this cultivation technique." Yin Feiyun sneered arrogantly. "If you want to fight, then stop talking nonsense." Yang Chung spat and locked his eyes on his opponent. At the same time, he wiped the sweat that appeared on his face. He hadn't sweated because of a battle for a long time. It wasn't because of the heat, but because he didn't feel confident. Indeed, he was better than Yin Feiyun in terms of cultivation and cultivation technique. However, he couldn't unleash the true power of the heaven and earth, even though he had the cultivation and the endless power of heaven and earth. According to the old man who possessed him, the true power of his current cultivation should be the Tai Ching heavenly thunder that helped him pass the tribulation transcendence. Similar to the Tai Ching heavenly thunder, the last stage of the three yang fire tribulation, karmic fire, and the second stage of the six frost water tribulation, Ming water, were all powers that he should be able to master. As for the more powerful Ruo water, Shang Qing, and Yu Qing heavenly thunder, they weren't something that he could use with his cultivation. However, he had only comprehended leaf fire, Sudi true fire, and Kuei water, which were a level higher, were still in the dark. How could he talk about the Tai Ching heavenly thunder? Damn it, if he could comprehend the heavenly fire and mystic water, he wouldn't be suppressed like this. Forget it. I'm not interested in wasting time with you. You're just SOSO. Yin Feiyun saw that Yang Chung wasn't taking the initiative to attack. The Kongming sword in his hand began to emit a special true essence. Yang Cheng's pupil shrank. The Kongming sword was disappearing. Not only was the sword disappearing, but Yin Feiyun also suddenly disappeared in the air. This was definitely not a clumsy concealment technique. If it was just a simple concealment technique, Yang Chung could still use his divine sense to detect him. However, even his divine sense couldn't detect where Yin Feiyun was. However, Yin Feiyu, who was watching from afar, laughed mockingly. "It's useless. Although my brother's Kongming sword isn't very destructive, it can block divine sense and hide its tracks. Even if your cultivation is higher than ours, it's still not enough for you to detect him." At this moment, a vast voice came from higher up in the sky. "Dark North Soul, 1,000 feet, I seal." Yang Qing knew this was bad, but it was too late. A huge ring-shaped icy sword aura suddenly appeared around him. The sword aura formed by Yin Feiyun's special Yin true essence was so thick and sharp that it seemed to have a physical form. The countless thick and sharp blades emitted a murderous aura that covered the sky and earth. The deep blue, bone-piercing cold air whizzed toward him like a huge snowstorm, trying to drown him. In the night sky, the people below only saw Yang Cheng's figure being instantly engulfed by a ball of azure light. The wind blew, and the snowstorm fell. The sky above the Yang mansion turned into a murderous sea of ice and snow. Yang Cheng. Lin Ruoshi couldn't open her eyes because of the cold wind. However, when she saw this scene, she was so anxious that her eyes turned red. However, before her tears could flow out, they were blown away by the wind. In the sky, Yang Cheng was surrounded by a huge ball of icy sword aura. He tried his best to open the leaf fire shield so that the huge sword aura wouldn't touch him. Even so, his chi and blood were gradually flowing slower. Yin Feiyu's wild laughter came from outside. "Ha ha, brat. I forgot to tell you that my brother's Kongming sword can make his true essence invisible as well. While you were in a daze, my brother had condensed countless sword auras around you, but you were still standing there in a daze. How do you feel now?" Yang Cheng was furious. This Kongming sword was so difficult to deal with. Although this spiritual treasure didn't have any destructive power, its absolute stealth effect allowed Yin Feiyun to stand in front of cultivators with similar cultivation strengths. No wonder he wasn't afraid of cultivators at the Darkwater Tribulation passing realm. It turned out that he had such a skill. Fortunately, Yang Cheng kept injecting the heaven and earth essence into his body. He activated a ball of fire, and the countless ice blades around him finally began to crack. Ah! With a furious roar, Yang Chung leaped out like a huge flaming man. In front of him, Yin Feiyun looked at him disdainfully with the Kong Ming sword in his hand. It seemed like he didn't care that Yang Chung could break out of his shell. Yang Chung didn't care about that. Now that he had finally seen Yin Feiyun, he immediately attacked him. He had to catch Yin Feiyun before he went into hiding. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to defend himself if he was sneak attacked again. He punched out, and a violently fire dragon whizzed toward Yin Feiyun's face. At the same time, Yang Cheng's figure flashed and appeared behind Yin Feiyun, grabbing the back of his neck. However, something strange happened. When Yang Cheng was about to grab Yin Feiyun's neck, Yang Cheng found that it was an empty space. He reached out to grab Yin Feiyun's neck, but the person in front of him was just an indistinguishable shadow. Idiot! Yin Feiyun's voice came from behind Yang Cheng, and it was full of disdain. Yang Cheng's battle instinct made him leap forward, but it was too late. The Kongming sword slashed across half of his back. Chapter 1028. His flesh was pierced by a bone-chilling icicle, and a large piece of his flesh was cut open. Countless icicles pierced into his meridians. Yang Cheng couldn't imagine what kind of injury his back had suffered, but he was sure that if his wound had been any deeper, it would have pierced his internal organs. If his instincts had been any slower, he would have been half dead. The Kongming sword was stained with Yin Feiyun's true core force. The true core force in his body was extremely domineering, and it kept drilling into his meridians. Although his wounds weren't bleeding, they couldn't be healed by the endless resolve restoration scripture. And your body is quite tough. You're still able to hold on after being hit by the true core force of my Northern Dark Eye Soul technique. Not bad, not bad. Yin Feiyun sneered. I'd like to see how long you can hold on. After that, Yin Feiyun disappeared into thin air again. Yang Cheng was prepared this time, so he was on high alert. However, the true core force in his back kept corroding his meridians, and he had to use the endless resolve restoration scripture to resist and repair the damage. It was extremely painful. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared behind him on the right, and the shadow of a sword slashed at Yang Cheng again. Yang Cheng dropped down, raised his hand, and blasted a ball of leaf fire at the figure. Boom! The flames exploded into a dazzling display of fireworks, but the figure only dissipated without a trace. Another fake. Before Yang Cheng could react, he suddenly found countless icicles rising from his feet. Northern Dark Ice Soul, Vast Sea Ice Wave. While he was speaking, the true core force that he had set up condensed into countless sharp sword energies that shot into the sky from the ground like countless ice arrows. For a moment, Yang Cheng's body was drowned by thousands of ice arrows. Although his body was extremely tough, there were still countless small wounds on his body, and blood splashed everywhere. Yang Cheng clenched his teeth and condensed a leaf fire shield to block the remaining ice arrows. But he had also suffered a lot of injuries. The people on the ground were terrified, and they didn't make a sound anymore. Lin Ruashi saw that Yang Cheng was surrounded by danger. She was paralyzed on the ground, and her heart was in pain. Yang Cheng didn't have time to care about the situation on the ground. The small wounds on his body were already occupied by the true core force, and he had to divert more energy to resist the invasion of the cold. Yang Cheng found that Yin Feiyun's Northern Dark Eye Soul technique was quite vicious. The true core force was obviously freezing the opponent's meridians from the inside out. If an ordinary cultivator was injured like this, they would feel 100 times worse than him. What made Yang Chun even angrier was that he couldn't tell that it was an illusion. If it was an ordinary illusion, he should have been able to see through it with just a little bit of perception. However, Yin Feiyun's illusion was no different from the real person, which caused him to be fooled twice. Don't be surprised. My emptiness sword is derived from the emptiness mirror. What you saw wasn't an illusion, but a mirror image. Yin Feiyun was proud of himself and said, "The person in the mirror is me, but it's not my real body. You're just a little rogue cultivator, so you won't understand. I'll let you die knowing." Yang Chen really couldn't understand. After all, the Kongming sword was a mystical artifact left behind from the ancient times. It was originally a high-tier mystical artifact. If it wasn't for the fact that it had been damaged over the past tens of thousands of years, it wouldn't have been reduced to a mid-tier artifact and given to Yin Feiyun. Even so, if it wasn't for the Yin siblings' special status in Hongming, Yin Feiyun would not have been able to take advantage of them. In fact, Yangcheng also had a golden blood WRM blade, which was also a mid-tier treasure. Unfortunately, the golden blood WRM blade's power lay in its ability to attack the opponent. That was why the opponent couldn't heal the wound in time. On the other hand, the Kongming sword was a weapon that gave the opponent the upper hand. Moreover, Yangcheng knew that if he took out the treasure, it would only cause more trouble if he exposed the fact that he killed Taoist Master Huangyan. Yangcheng knew that he couldn't just sit around and wait for death. He immediately used his divine sense to lock onto Yin Feiyun's body to prevent him from escaping again. Then, he flew over again. Yin Feiyun didn't dodge. He stood in the air with his sword and watched mockingly as Yangcheng rushed toward him. Li fire erupted from Yangcheng's body like a huge fireball. It enveloped Yin Feiyun with a terrifying aura. Let's see how you escape now. Just as Yangcheng was about to grab Yin Feiyun's head, Yin Feiyun disappeared again. The mirror image is me, but I'm not the mirror image. This time, Yin Feiyun appeared on the left side of Yangcheng again. He raised his sword and slashed Yangcheng's waist again. Yangcheng dodged in a hurry and touched the wound that was caused by the frost true essence. His face turned pale as his injury worsened. Even his divine sense could not see through his concealment method. Yangcheng couldn't think of a better way. He could only grit his teeth and try to increase his speed to see if he could hit Yin Feiyun before he could hide. With that thought, Yangcheng charged at Yin Feiyun again. However, his attacks were even more ferocious. However, Yin Feiyun stood there without any intention of moving. Yangcheng's heart skipped a beat when he saw that he was not moving at all. Could it be another mirror image? Yin Feiyun laughed mockingly at that moment of hesitation. Sorry, I guessed wrong. It's real this time. As he spoke, the Kongming sword slashed through Yangcheng's chest again. Yangcheng's eyes widened in anger. Yin Feiyun had gained the upper hand again. Yin Feiyun didn't stop there. The moment Yangcheng was hit, he kicked Yangcheng's chest. Puff! Yangcheng spat out a mouthful of blood. He flew in a parabola like a cannonball that ran out of fuel and fell to the ground. No matter how strong the recovery ability of the Endless Resolve Restoration Scripture was, it couldn't heal all the wounds in a short period of time. In addition, the Frost True Essence was eroding his meridians, and he couldn't use the power of heaven and earth smoothly. Blocked from both inside and outside, Yangcheng's body finally couldn't withstand the high-intensity load anymore. He fell miserably. When Yangcheng's body fell into a flower bed, he smashed through some shrubs and landed on the muddy ground. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Looking up at Yin Feiyun, who was falling from the sky, Yangcheng couldn't muster enough strength to fight him again. His entire body was filled with Frost True Essence. It was as if his blood was freezing. Hubby, when Lin Ruoshi saw Yangcheng falling, she quickly ran over. Yin Feiyun, who was watching from afar, laughed loudly. You overestimate yourself. You think you could defeat my brother? Yin Feiyun looked around and locked her gaze on Lin Ruoshi, who was running towards Yangcheng. In a flash, she landed behind Lin Ruoshi and grabbed Lin Ruoshi's neck. Not far away, the guard saw this scene and naturally could not tolerate it anymore. The leader of the guard shouted, "Let go of young mistress. Otherwise, we'll shoot." Before they could do anything else, Yin Feiyun swung the Tai horsetail, whisk in her hand. Several white whips were as hard as steel, smashing the guards into pieces. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. You're just a bunch of slaves. How dare you bark like a dog? Blood flowed like a river, causing Yangcheng's veins to bulge. At this moment, Yang Gongming and Guo Shuihua were nowhere to be seen. It was most likely that the guards, or Yin Sanyang, had taken them somewhere far away. Luckily, it didn't show up. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. If this went on, Would he really be killed by this pair of black-hearted siblings? Lin Ruashi had no time to think about it. She felt her body leaving the ground and was immediately grabbed by Yin Feiyu. Yin Feiyu choked her neck, making it difficult for her to breathe. Let go of me. Cough, cough. Lin Ruashi's face turned red and tears rolled down her cheeks. She couldn't break free no matter how hard she struggled. However, her own pain was nothing compared to the heartbreak she felt when she saw Yang Cheng fall to the ground. This man, there was actually a time when he was defeated. In the past, even if Lin Ruashi knew that Yang Cheng had gone out to fight and kill, she would only worry about him. She wouldn't even worry that Yang Cheng would be hurt. However, after witnessing it with her own eyes, Lin Ruashi felt as if her world was collapsing. The man who seemed invincible in this world, the man who could hold on even if the sky collapsed, had fallen. Lin Ruashi had never thought that such a day would come. Everything that happened so suddenly was extremely difficult for her to accept. Chapter 1029. This guy is lucky. Last time, Sidu Chongwei was already a beauty. This girl is even better than her, Yin Feiyu sneered. It's a pity that she doesn't know what's good for her even though she's not capable. Since she's your wife, she has to suffer with you. Yin Feiyu released a trace of divine sense to check Lin Ruashi's body. Yin Feiyu could not help but look delighted. Brother, there are signs of the special method in this girl's body that I've seen earlier. She should know about this fella's cultivation method too. All we have to do is capture her and interrogate her. Yin Feiyu nodded. Second sister, what do you think we should do with this kid? With that said, Yin Feiyun held the sword above Yang Chen's chest. Yin Feiyu's eyes flashed with malice. Since this kid is the eldest grandson of the Yang family, killing him will affect the situation in the secular world. Why don't we spare his life and destroy his cultivation in case he causes trouble again? That's great. We can settle our personal grudges, and it won't go against the principles of Hongming. Yin Feiyun smirked. I'll destroy his dantian now. Then a thick, icy sword aura condensed on the Kongming sword, and was about to pierce into Yang Cheng's Qihai. While the siblings were talking, Yang Cheng had used the heaven and earth energy to heal his injuries. After all, his cultivation was higher than Yin Feiyun's. Although the icy ethereal force was difficult to deal with, he could force it out of his body with time. Once the ethereal force was gone, Yang Cheng's self-recovery ability would be beyond Yin Feiyun's imagination. At this moment, Yang Cheng tensed his body and activated the meridians that could still be used. He planned to counterattack the moment Yin Feiyun swung his sword. Success or failure would be decided in an instant. Yang Cheng knew that he had no way out. After all, it was too difficult to find a way to destroy Yin Feiyun's Kongming sword in a short period of time. But at this moment, a voice broke the silence. Stop! A gray figure suddenly appeared and walked into everyone's field of vision. A white-haired Yin Sanyang walked in from the backyard. Her eyes were filled with heartache as she looked at the pile of broken limbs and corpses. And Yang Gongming's figure also came in from the back, but the old man's face was full of sorrow. When he saw Yang Cheng being pointed at with a sword and falling to the ground, and Lin Ruashi being grabbed, Yang Gongming could not hide his intense emotions. However, Yin Feiyun and Yin Feiyu were like ice sculptures. They stared at Yin Sanyang with stiff expressions on their faces. Third sister, flying spirit, Yin Feiyun and Yin Feiyu stared at Yin Sanyang in disbelief. Yin Feiyu was so shocked that she let go of Lin Ruashi and threw her to the ground. Although Lin Ruashi was confused, she ran to Yang Cheng's side and helped Yang Cheng up. Although Yang Cheng did not need help, he pretended to be in pain in order to confuse Yin Feiyun. Looking at Lin Ruashi wiping her tears, it was the first time Yang Cheng felt that a woman had so many tears, but he could not bear to see it. Yin Feiyun glanced at Yang Cheng, but he did not seem to be in the mood to care about Yang Cheng. He walked towards Yin Sanyang with Yin Feiyu. Everyone's attention was focused on Yin Sanyang. Yang Cheng had no choice but to put aside his thoughts of fighting and squinted at the three of them. Yin Sanyang's surname. Yin? Could it be flying spirit? Is it really you? Yin Feiyun looked at Yin Sanyang with a complicated expression. His facial muscles were twitching. Big brother, do you even need to ask? Even if third sister has become like this, how can you not recognize her since we grew up together? Yin Feiyu's eyes were filled with tears. Yin Feiyun sighed and took a deep breath. No wonder we didn't see you. You were hiding your cultivation, right? Yin Sanyang nodded. Her wrinkled face showed a hint of helplessness. That's right, but I didn't expect you to come out. Yang Chun was jolted awake. That's right, I didn't notice it earlier. After the siblings arrived, not only did Yin Sanyang not come out, her cultivation was also concealed. It seemed like she was hiding on purpose. Are you still not willing to meet us? Are you still not willing to go back to see father? Yin Feiyun asked solemnly. Yin Sanyang shook her head. If I wanted to, I wouldn't have stayed here until now. Failing, even if you don't want to go back, why did you disguise yourself like this? You're already in the mid-stage of soul formation. Why did you deliberately age? Yin Feiyu started sobbing. Are you trying to break my heart by letting me see you like this? Do you know how long I've been looking for you? Ever since you left home, I've fallen out with father. I've been cultivating in the secular world, and I've been looking for Huaxia everywhere. I didn't expect you to be hiding in the Yang family in Beijing. Yin Sanyang looked at Yin Feiyu emotionally, tears welling up in her eyes. Second sister, failing. Let me take a good look at you. Hurry up and change back. Don't make yourself look old. Yin Feiyu begged. Yin Sanyang looked back at Yang Gongming with much difficulty, then at Yin Feiyu, who was full of anticipation. She sighed softly. Forget it. Yin Sanyang nodded and channeled her true essence. Yang Cheng, who was standing not far away, was convinced that the three of them were family. The true essence that Yin Sanyang was using was of the same nature as Yin Feiyun and Yin Feiyu. However, Yin Sanyang had yet to reach the tribulation passing stage and was relatively weak, so he did not notice it. As Yin Sanyang channeled her true essence, her entire body began to change. Her skinny and wrinkled face suddenly tightened and became fair. The crow's feet at the corner of her eyes began to disappear. Her eyes became clear and her brows began to thicken. Following that, his hair began to turn black and his entire body straightened up. Looking closely, the skin around Yin Sanyang's neck began to resemble that of a young girl. Gradually, an old woman in her 70s miraculously returned to her youthful appearance and became a young lady dressed in plain clothes. Her cheeks were rosy and her teeth were white. Her figure was exquisite and plump. Her eyes, which could speak, were especially moist and glossy. Not only Yang Cheng, but Lin Ruashi was also in a daze, and she stopped crying. Yin Sanyang, Granny Yin, was a girl who looked like she was in her 20s. Yang Cheng knew that it was understandable. After all, Yin Sanyang was in the mid-divine transformation stage. If she had entered the Xiantian stage at such a young age, it was normal for her to retain her appearance. However, as they were used to Yin Sanyang's appearance, it was difficult for them to call her Grandma Yin in front of them, who looked like they were peers. Yin Sanyang seemed a little shy and did not dare to look at Yang Cheng and Lin Ruashi. Not far away, Yang Gongming saw that Yin Sanyang had returned to her original appearance. His eyes were filled with nostalgia, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Failing. It's really failing, my sister. Yin Feiyu cried tears of joy and hugged Yin Failing. Yin Failing bit her lips and said, Sister, it's all my fault. I made you suffer. Yin Feiyu shook her head and said, It's all right. As long as you're well, I'll be fine. Failing. Why are you in the Yang family? What's your relationship with the Yang family? Yin Feiyun asked solemnly after she recovered from her surprise. That's right. Yin Feiyu thought of this too. She looked at Yang Gongming with hostility and asked, Failing, did you purposely age because of that old man? What's your relationship with him? Yin Failing looked troubled. Sister, brother, please don't ask me. It's a long story. No, we've been looking for you for more than 40 years. How can we not find out what happened when we finally met you? Just tell us, did the Yang family do something to you? With brother and sister around, do you still need to care about the Yang family? Sister, don't misunderstand. Yin Failing shook her head and said, I stayed in the Yang family willingly. I'm indebted to Master and Madam, and I don't want to go back to Hongming to meet that person. So, I stayed here. Indebted to you? What do you mean? Yin Feiyu was puzzled. Yin Failing turned around and looked at Yang Gongming. She saw Yang Gongming nodding and smiling at her. She let out a sigh and said slowly, It all started from 40 years ago when I just left home. Chapter 1030. In the depths of the courtyard, the bleak night wind blew through the treetops, bringing with it a strong smell of blood. The courtyard was full of bloody corpses. The entire courtyard was like a slaughterhouse. It was unknown when Yang Cheng was standing there. His wounds had already healed under the powerful recovery ability of the Endless Resolve Restoration Scripture. Only his torn clothes were left. Yang Cheng had destroyed all the icy True Origin. At the same time, when he was fighting against the icy True Origin, Yang Cheng suddenly had a thought that he had never had before. Lin Ruoshi quietly snuggled up to Yang Cheng. Seeing that Yang Cheng's face was no longer so ugly, she felt a little relieved. It didn't matter if he lost, as long as his body was fine. Lin Ruoshi didn't have time to think about other things. What she didn't know was that Yang Cheng was currently immersed in a strange thought, thinking about something. In the middle of the courtyard, the three siblings of the Yin family were talking about the past. They didn't notice that Yang Cheng, who was in so much pain just a moment ago, had a trace of joy in his eyes. As for Yang Gongming, he was standing not far away. His thin clothes made him look very thin. His face was gloomy and full of nostalgia. Yin Failing had already told him many stories after she left the dreamland. It wasn't too complicated. From a few words, he could roughly understand the reason. I met Master Madam at the border of Huaxia in India, which is the border of Tibet. At that time, I came out of the dreamland and decided to walk my own path. More than 40 years ago, Huaxia was in troubled times. Although they had repelled the invaders, the situation at the border was still chaotic. Whether it was the northeast border or the southwest border, the neighboring countries exchanged fire almost every day. Hongming, as an outsider whose purpose was to protect Huaxia, thought that the people of Huaxia who died in the war at the border didn't need to care. This was because this was a war in the secular world, and it wouldn't affect the foundation of Huaxia. If they interfered, it would only disrupt the normal development of the secular world. Before that, when Huaxia was bullied by the foreign countries for decades, Hongming just watched from the side. Although the people of Huaxia lived in misery, there were always resistance forces rising, and the country didn't really perish. Throughout history, Huaxia had experienced many wars. When the Mongols unified most of Asia, Hongming didn't do anything because of the change of dynasties. Of course, Hongming was already used to it. Hongming had never been wrong. For example, the Mongols returned the throne to the Chinese in just a few hundred years. Therefore, as long as it wasn't a genocidal massacre of the Huaxia people, Hongming felt that it was an acceptable war and transitional phase. Yin Failing grew up in Hongming, and she didn't know much about the secular world. But for the people of Hongming, once they entered the Khanate realm, they had to travel around the secular world to prepare for the soul-forming realm. Yin Failing was already in her 20s at that time, and was in the middle stage of the Khanate realm. When she first entered the Khanate realm, she had already traveled around Huaxia and seen countless battles. Yin Failing suddenly asked herself, was Hongming's choice the right one? She had seen so many dead bodies lying on the ground, homeless and broken families. Even after returning to Hongming, Yin Failing still couldn't forget the battles in the outside world. She felt that she couldn't just sit back and watch. So when she entered the middle stage of the Khanate realm, Yin Failing finally decided to leave the illusion. Even if she couldn't change much, she had to try her best to save some ordinary people. But the rule of Hongming was that the people of Hongming had to get involved in the affairs of the secular world. Even though Yin Failing wasn't even in the soul-forming realm, she knew the secrets of Hongming, so she was restricted. But Yin Failing's identity was too special. The father of the Yin siblings was one of the few heaven stage elders in Hongming, Yin Wuchen. Yin Wuchen's daughter wanted to go to the secular world to participate in the war. She wasn't someone the Huang stage elders in Hongming could decide to capture. Moreover, Yin Failing was only in the middle stage of the Khanate realm. Even if she went out, it wouldn't make much of a difference. Yin Wuchen had a huge argument with Yin Failing. Seeing that Yin Failing wouldn't listen to him, he said that if she dared to leave the illusion, they would no longer be father and daughter. In the end, Yin Failing, who thought that her father was too cold-blooded, left the illusion without hesitation. Of course, Yin Failing wouldn't tell them everything, but Yin Feiyun and Yin Feiyu knew about it. Because she felt that their father was too cruel, Yin Feiyu also left Hongming to cultivate in the outside world. At the same time, she searched for Yin Failing's whereabouts. Because of this, the Yin siblings had been at loggerheads for the past 10 years. At that time, there was a war with India near Tibet. Huaxia's army and the Tibetan herdsmen were in a passive position because their equipment was outdated and they couldn't keep up with the logistics. At that time, the commander of Huaxia's army was Old Master Yang Gongming. He led his troops deep into the enemy's territory and took a risk to encircle them. That was how they managed to turn the tide of the war. At that time, I saw the Indian army slaughtering the Tibetan herdsmen, so I started a massacre and killed an entire company of Indian soldiers. But I didn't expect that there was an organization like Brahma in India. Because they had been suppressing Huaxia's dragon team, they were at a disadvantage in the war. Even though I was in the middle phase of the Khanate realm, they caught up with Shiva and Azura. Although I managed to force them to retreat, I was severely injured. Yang Chung, who was standing not far away, regained his senses. He was stunned when he heard Yin Sanyang's words. Brahma? He didn't expect them to have a grudge against the Yang family. Luckily, he had killed all of their important figures. Yang Chun was in an extremely good mood at the moment. In just a short while, he had actually comprehended a few things without saying a word. Severely injured? Then what happened next? Yin Feiyu asked. Yin Failing replied, I wanted to rush back as soon as possible to avoid the Indian soldiers. My internal injuries were so severe that I couldn't recover in a short period of time. But I didn't expect the Brahma to be so vicious. They poisoned me during the battle. I didn't manage to run far before I fainted. My life was hanging by a thread. Yin Feiyun and Yin Sanyang frowned when they heard this. Yin Failing smiled faintly. It was then that Madame discovered me. Before Yang Gongming's wife married into Yang Gongming's family, she was a military doctor in the logistics department of Yang Gongming's army. Even though she was from a prestigious family, she studied Western medicine overseas and returned to Huaxia to become a battlefield doctor. It was also because she was engaged to Yang Gongming that she chose to work in Yang Gongming's army. Even though she was married to Yang Gongming, she followed her husband's orders even when they were on an expedition. Back then, during an emergency retreat, old Madame met Yin Failing, who was unconscious. The others felt that the sudden appearance of this woman was strange. Since they were on the run, it was best to leave her alone. However, old Madame stood her ground and insisted on bringing Yin Failing along. Finally, after Yin Failing was brought to the logistics base, she was treated by Western medicine and the toxins were removed. Coupled with the constant care, she managed to survive. When Yang Gongming returned to the base and found out that his fiancée saved a young girl of unknown origin, he was suspicious. After all, Yin Failing appeared at the border between the two armies. The civilians had already been evacuated. Where did she come from? After being questioned, Yin Failing didn't tell him where she was from. She only said that she was called Yin Sanyang because she was the third child in her family. She didn't even have an identity and only had a name that was unknown. She was poisoned on the battlefield and recovered quickly with simple treatment. Yang Gongming would definitely be worried. Therefore, Yang Gongming wanted to ask Yin Failing to leave the army camp. He even wanted to kill her to prevent her from being a spy from India. It's funny. When I first met Old Master, we were mortal enemies. Old Master insisted that I was a spy, but I didn't know where to start. In the end, Madame was always the peacemaker. She even protected me and said that I didn't look like a bad person. Yin Failing smiled, but her eyes were a little moist. How could she forget the woman who took care of a stranger like her and protected a lonely girl like her? She was like an elder sister to her. Chapter 10:31. Yin Failing remained silent for a while before she continued. Later on, when I had regained some of my strength, someone from the dragon team came over and told them that I had cultivated and wasn't from the Hindustan Empire. However, I had yet to regain my cultivation, and the people from the dragon team thought that I was only an acquired martial artist. At that point in time, I thought of lying to them that I was an independent martial artist. Later on, Master personally came to apologize to me and even took me in to help Madam in the logistics department. Initially, I wanted to leave after the war was over, but as my relationship with Madam got better and better, she felt that I was lonely and wanted to continue to take me in. She even said that she would ask her parents to accept me as their goddaughter when I returned to Beijing. Yin Failing's story was intermittent, but she managed to get the gist of it. As she didn't want to return to Hongmeng and meet her father, who claimed that heaven and earth were heartless, she chose to stay by Madame Yang's side. Although the two of them treated each other like sisters, a big family had its own rules. If they wanted to stay together, it would be best for Yin Failing to be a maid. 40 years ago, it wasn't unusual for a big family to have a maid when they got married. Of course, Yang Gongming and his wife didn't really treat Yin Failing as a maid. However, Yin Failing was responsible for many of the things that a servant had to do in order to repay the debt of saving her life. Yin Failing's real background was only revealed to Yang Gongming and his wife a few years later, after the war had ended and their relationship had deepened. It was then that Yin Failing became the real Yin Sanyang. Big brother, second sister, I'm indebted to the Yang family. I've treated this place as my home all these years. You've already killed so many people, please don't kill anymore, Yin Sanyang advised. Yin Fiyun narrowed her eyes and pondered for a while before she chuckled. Third sister, although the Yang family saved you before, you have been a maid for the Yang family for over 40 years. You should have repaid the debt of gratitude long ago. In my opinion, the Yang family actually dared to use you as a maidservant and let you appear in public as an old woman. How hateful! Yin Sanyang hurriedly shook her head. No, big brother, I volunteered to serve master and madam. I only let myself grow older to fool people. No one forced me to do so. That won't do. If father finds out that you're a servant of a secular family, he'll wipe out the entire Yang family, Yin Feiyu said sternly. How could you do this? Yin Sanyang had thought that she would be able to resolve this crisis if she were to step forward and explain things clearly. She did not expect that her elder brother and sister would not take action. Humph, Failing, we don't owe the Yang family anything. On the contrary, this kid from the Yang family destroyed my Misty Rain nunnery and humiliated me and Hongmeng. Even if you come to intercede today, you must pay the price. But no buts. Yin Fiyun turned around and said firmly, I can promise you that I won't harm the lives of the Yang family members. But this brat's cultivation technique must be given to me in exchange for his life. Otherwise, I will destroy his cultivation. Yin Sanyang was furious. If you dare harm young Master Chun, I'll die in front of you. Failing, are you crazy? Haven't you had enough? You don't have to care about what happens today. Once this is over, you'll come back with us to see father. Yin Feiyun said angrily. Yin Sanyang shook her head stubbornly. I decided to cut ties with him years ago. I could do it again now. If you treat me like your own sister, don't do such shameful things. How dare you say that we're shameful? Yin Feiyu looked incredulous. Isn't that so? You stole a junior's cultivation technique, and he's the descendant of my benefactor. Has Hongmeng become so corrupted? Shut up, Yin Feiyun roared. Sanyang. Yang Gongming came forward and dissuaded her. You don't have to do this. You've done enough for the Yang family. It's time for you to be yourself. Sanyang, did you hear that? I'm already embarrassed, Yin Feiyu sneered. Yin Sanyang turned around and smiled at Yang Gongming. Master, I've promised Madam that I'll take good care of Master and the Yang family. That's the promise. Sai, why are you doing this? Yang Gongming was anxious, but he didn't know what to do. At this moment, Yang Cheng, who had been silent all this while, sneered. Granny Yin, don't stop them. If they want my cultivation technique, they can come and take it. Yang Cheng looked calm, as if he wasn't injured at all. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. Lin Ruoshi tightened her grip on the man's arm and said worriedly, "Hubby, don't force yourself. That person is stronger than you." Although she knew that Yang Cheng had a strong self-recovery ability, and he seemed to be much better now, Lin Ruoshi was still worried that Yang Cheng was fighting with his life because he refused to admit defeat. Yang Cheng reached out and caressed his wife's face. "Be good and stand beside the old man. Just watch." But Yang Cheng's expression turned serious. "Lin Ruoshi, don't you trust me?" Lin Ruoshi saw Yang Cheng's piercing gaze and was a little angry. She quietly let go and looked at the man bitterly. Shanshan retreated to Yang Gongming's side. Yang Gongming patted his granddaughter-in-law's shoulder and sighed, but he didn't say anything about Yang Cheng's stubbornness. Yin Feiyun and his sister looked at Yang Cheng curiously. "Magical! How magical! I didn't notice that you've recovered. It seems like your cultivation technique is quite powerful." Yin Feiyun smiled sinisterly. The more powerful Yang Cheng was, the more valuable the cultivation technique was. Yin Sanyang's face was full of worry. "Young Master Chun, stop fighting. You're no match for my brother. Our Yin family's Northern Dark Eye Soul cultivation technique, combined with the Kongming sword, is no less destructive than a cultivator in the second layer of the 6th Frost Water. You have no chance of winning. Granny Yin, that's where you're wrong." Yang Chun let out an evil smile. "To me, as long as I'm still alive, I won't admit defeat." "Ha! How arrogant!" Yin Feiyun was so angry that he laughed. "Since you're in such a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish today. I was going to let you go for my sister's sake and just take the cultivation technique. But now, I can't tolerate it anymore." Yin Feiyun's face darkened. He held the Kongming sword again and slashed it diagonally, releasing a large amount of sword rays that looked like ice crystals. Yang Cheng leaped into the air and dodged the sword rays. When he looked down, Yin Feiyun had disappeared again. This time, Yang Cheng was not surprised. He stood quietly in the air and waited for Yin Feiyun to show himself. Suddenly, a vortex of icy true essence condensed in all directions. The murderous sword aura was like a roaring tornado. The moment it appeared, it surrounded Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng did not dodge, nor did he use any of his Nanmingli fire. He just stood in the center of the sword aura that was condensed from countless true essence. The violent sword aura swept in all directions and destroyed many of the Yang family's roofs. Yang Gongming and Lin Ruoshi, who were on the ground, could not open their eyes. "You're courting death." Yin Feiyun appeared not far away. He sneered when he saw Yang Cheng being swallowed by one move. But then, Yin Feiyun suddenly felt that something was wrong. The ice-cold tornado of sword energy that was flashing with a bright blue glow was actually shrinking rapidly for no reason. It was like a long dragon that was used to shaking the heavens and earth. It was shrinking rapidly and was about to disappear. Gradually, Yin Feiyun could see where the true essence was going. Yang Chen's right hand was held up lightly with his index finger erected. On top of his index finger was a blue and white ball of light the size of a basketball. It was spinning rapidly, absorbing all the true yuan into it. At this moment, there was a lot of frost surrounding him. It was a mysterious scene. Yang Cheng's body seemed to be at ease in the cold wind. He was not injured at all. This is... Yin Feiyun was shocked. Yang Gongming and Lin Ruoshi were overjoyed. Yin Sanyang and Yin Feiyu, who were also cultivators, were shocked. Yang Chun seemed to be looking at the ball in his hand with relish. "I really want to thank you for fiercely injuring me a few times with your sword and sending me so much cold true yuan into my body. If it wasn't for your generosity, I might need a lot more time to comprehend the mystery of this Kuei water." Chapter 1032. Kuei Water. The first level of the 6th Frost Water Tribulation. The mystic water of the Kuei Water Tribulation. Kuei Water. The shocked Yin Feiyun carefully sensed it and suddenly realized that the blue ball of light in Yang Cheng's hand did indeed have a strong aura of Kuei water. He had successfully reached the tribulation passing stage after passing the Kuei water tribulation. He had a deep understanding of the terror of the Kuei water. In order to pass the tribulation, he had relied on his father's protection and consumed a high-grade elixir to strengthen his true essence for a short period of time. He had also destroyed a mid-grade defensive magic artifact to pass the tribulation. However, if he really encountered the Kuei water again, how could he deal with it so easily? It was just like how Yin Feiyu had passed the Nanming Leaf Fire tribulation, but she still had to hide far away when she saw the Nanming Leaf Fire. Unless he was a realm higher, he would not be able to contend against it. At this moment, the reason why Yang Cheng could control the icy true essence was because of the power of the Kuei water that he had just comprehended. Yin Feiyun's true essence came from his family's northern dark ice soul, which was a water elemental cultivation technique. Coupled with the fact that he had refined his body with the Kuei water, his true essence already contained a trace of the Kuei water's profound principles. After being severely injured, Yang Cheng used the endless resolve restoration scripture to resist the true essence. However, he suddenly remembered what the mysterious old man had said. Borrowing the power of heaven and earth is not as good as turning into heaven and earth. Everything in heaven and earth had its own rules and characteristics. Since he cultivated the Tao of integrating all things in heaven and earth, why not carefully comprehend the Tao contained in the other party's true essence? As he thought about it, it was as he expected. The endless resolve restoration scripture seemed to have heard the call and began to devour and fuse with the remaining true essence in his body. As a result, not only did the icy true essence quickly disintegrate and heal his wounds, but he also truly experienced the profoundness of the Kuei water. Of course, not everyone could do this. Firstly, Yang Cheng's comprehension was extremely high on the path of cultivation. Otherwise, he would not have been able to quickly cultivate the endless resolve restoration scripture to such a high realm. Secondly, Yang Cheng's physical strength was enough to support such thoughts. No matter what, Yin Feiyun's sword qi was no longer a threat to Yang Cheng. In front of the Kuei water, Yin Feiyun's ice quintessential essence was like a stream meeting a raging river. It could not resist at all and was obediently absorbed by the river, letting the waves wash over it. Impossible! Impossible! Yin Feiyun was filled with anger and disbelief. How did you comprehend the Tao of Kuei water in such a short time? It was already shocking enough that he could use the Nanming Leaf Fire. Now, he could use the Kuei water, which was an even higher level. Yin Feiyun didn't dare to imagine that such a cultivation technique existed in this world. I'm sorry, I'm not good at anything else, but I do know a thing or two about fighting. Yang Cheng winked playfully. Humph! False bravado. So what if you comprehended the Kuei water? You can't break my emptiness sword at all. Yin Feiyun waved his long sword, and after a wave of sword light, his figure disappeared again. Lin Ruoshi, who was not far away, revealed an anxious expression after witnessing this move injuring Yang Chen twice. Yang Cheng stood on the spot and closed his eyes in a relaxed manner. His eyelids drooped, as if he had given up resisting, and he stood there leisurely. Only the light ball in his hand, which was condensed with a large amount of true yuan, illuminated Yang Chen's indifferent expression. After everyone held their breath for a few seconds, Yin Feiyun appeared. An angry figure landed behind Yang Cheng on the right. The emptiness sword in his hand glowed with a blue light, and thick quintessential essence was mixed together as it slashed down. Yang Cheng moved at the same time. The light ball in his right hand was pushed forward almost at the same time. Boom! With a violent muffled sound and a strong shock wave, the entire courtyard was on the verge of collapsing. Everyone saw Yin Feiyun's face filled with shock, and pain suddenly appeared in the void in front of Yang Cheng. Before he could swing down his emptiness sword, his chest was hit by the quintessential essence of the entire ball. I was seen through. How did he know my real position? Yin Feiyun was completely dumbfounded. The quintessential essence that Yang Cheng had condensed wasn't very powerful, but because it was condensed and infused with a certain amount of Kuei water, Yin Feiyun couldn't resist it at all. In the brilliant blue light, the black-robed man's figure was sent flying like a cannonball. After knocking over 2 towering trees, he fell on the stone floor under the eaves. A large piece of white ice froze on Yin Feiyun's chest, and the blood that he spat out froze into blood crystals. His entire body was numb, and he couldn't even hold his sword firmly, causing it to fall to the ground. There was dead silence. The guard of the Yang family who had just arrived were dumbfounded, and they didn't dare to come closer. Big brother. Yin Feiyu came back to her senses and dashed to her brother's side. However, when she was about to help Yin Feiyun up, she immediately withdrew her hand. It was too cold, not to mention Yin Feiyun's body. He would feel a bone-piercing chill if he got close to it. He was a cultivator at the Tribulation Crossing realm who had passed the first level of the 3 Yang True Fire Tribulation, but it was so difficult for him to get close to the Kuei water. Although Yang Gongming and Lin Ruoshi were stunned, they were relieved. Yang Cheng walked slowly toward Yin Feiyun, and a crystal-clear ball of azure Kuei water condensed in his hand. It looked like a wriggling ball of life. However, even from a distance, they could feel the deadly power contained in this ball of Kuei water. I told you that I'm not dead yet. How can it be considered a loss? It's too early to be happy. Yang Cheng played with the Kuei water in his hand. For him, the Kuei water was like the leaf fire, and he knew it very well. What did you do to my big brother? Yin Feiyu asked angrily. Yang Cheng shrugged. Your big brother has experienced the Kuei water tribulation himself, so he should be very clear about it. It's just the cold air from the inside out entered his body and gradually froze. Don't worry, he won't die like this. I didn't kill him. Yang Cheng grinned and said, I just returned the true essence he gave me. I haven't given him what I wanted to give him yet. Hearing the killing intent in Yang Cheng's words, Yin Feiyu's heart was pounding, and she said with a trembling voice, If you dare, my father will definitely not let you off. Just wait to be killed by Hongmeng. Second sister, stop talking. Yin Sanyang finally couldn't help but step forward and say, Haven't you caused enough trouble? Right now, young Master Chun can kill you and Big Brother with a few casual moves. Why do you still want to anger him? Do you want to die in front of me? Yin Feiyu was stunned. Third sister. Yin Sanyang's eyes were red with anger, and she turned to Yang Cheng and said, Young Master Chun, for my sake, let my big brother and second sister go. With your current cultivation, they won't be able to pose a threat, right? Granny Yin, it's not that I don't want to give you face, but your second sister pinched my wife in front of us. That's not a small matter. She killed so many loyal soldiers of the Yang family, and they died without a whole corpse. It doesn't matter if I'm injured or if Ruoshi is wronged, but if I let them go, wouldn't it disappoint the other members of the Yang family? Yang Cheng said. Yin Sanyang's expression was bitter. Young Master Chun, I know this is very shameless. But young Master Chun, if you really kill my second sister and big brother, my father will definitely come looking for you. When that time comes, there will be even more deaths. Moreover, my father's cultivation is one of the best in Hongmeng. Even if young Master Chun can use the Kuei water, you definitely won't be a match for him. Of course, I'm not threatening you. I just want you to be safe. Yang Cheng was silent, and many thoughts flashed through his eyes. Indeed, Yin Sanyang was thinking for his sake. Although he had mastered the Kuei water, she was only a tribulation passing stage cultivator who had mastered the first stage of the 6 frost water. What if she was at the dark water or weak water stage? He was still not strong enough. If he really fought with Hongmeng, he would be the only one at a disadvantage. He could escape, but how could his family and women escape? He couldn't always hope that the mysterious old man could possess him again and help him defeat the strong enemies. Could he? Didn't he not come during the crisis this time? He said that the extent of one's cultivation depended on one's own comprehension. Strength. Yang Cheng had never been so desperate for cultivation. Ever since he killed Zero, obtained the god of hell's imprint from the previous Pluto, and mastered the law of space, He could do whatever he wanted. Even when he returned to China, he didn't take the Chinese cultivators seriously. As for the endless resolve restoration scripture, it was only natural for him to improve over time. So Yang Chun almost never practiced, preferring to sleep. In terms of cultivation level, he had always been at ease, never demanding himself. Once the opportunity presented itself, he would naturally comprehend it. But now, it seemed like this speed of advancement was not enough. At least, logically speaking, the first stage of the 9 heavenly thunder tribulation should have required him to understand the powers of the dark water and hellfire. But he still had no clue. Yin Sanyang was afraid that Yang Cheng would get hot-headed and kill again. So she tried to persuade him, "Young Master Chun, if you can let them go this time, I will go back to Hongmeng to plead on behalf of my father, and we will most likely be able to resolve the situation. After all, my eldest brother and second sister came looking for me, and they definitely wouldn't tell my father. Moreover, they killed someone, so if you let them go, my father won't find trouble with you." Yang Cheng looked up. "Granny Yin, you want to go back to Hongmeng?" Chapter 1033. Yin Sanyang looked back at Yang Gongming bitterly. "What else can I do? I've been discovered by big brother and second sister. I'll have to go back sooner or later. If I go back now, it'll be worth it." Yang Chen sighed. Yin Sanyang had already put it this way. It would be stupid of him to try and be domineering. Yang Cheng put away the kuei water and walked over to the siblings. Yin Feiyun had a strong foundation after all. He managed to stand up after some time to recover. He looked at Yang Cheng fearfully and viciously. Yang Cheng ignored his gaze and said, "I've understood this since I was young. If you want to live, you have to rely on your own strength. If you rely on others to save you, you'll die sooner or later. That's why I won't let Granny Yin save me even if I die in your hands today. But you're different. I'll spare your lives today for Granny Yin's sake. Of course, if you think it's humiliating and you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Yang Cheng's words were straightforward, but there was no hint of intimidation in his tone. It was also because of his calm tone that the siblings felt that he was telling the truth. If they refused to be saved, they would really die. Even if they thought that their father would avenge them after they died. What was the point of revenge if they died? That was why they had to live. Even if they were unwilling, they would have the chance to avenge themselves sooner or later. "You win," Yin Feiyun said with a pale face. "I've lost today, but I have to ask you why you could see through my Kongming sword's mirror image." That was what he was most unwilling to accept. His Kongming sword actually failed. Yang Cheng chuckled. "I didn't use it to see." As he said that, he pointed at his head. "I use my senses. Feel? That's right." Yang Cheng said, "Even if I tell you, you might not understand. Even if your mirror image is flawless, as long as you exist, you can't hide from heaven and earth. Any change in the power of heaven and earth will cause some fluctuations because of your movements. I just followed that trace of abnormality." This was also an idea that Yang Cheng came up with after comprehending the kuei water. If Yin Feiyun knew that Yang Cheng came up with a solution on a whim, he would probably vomit blood. Yin Feiyun couldn't figure it out and could only give up. He turned to Yin Sanyang and said, "Failing, since you've agreed, come with us." Yin Sanyang nodded. "You can leave first. I have to bid farewell to old master." "Failing, you can't be. Second sister, since I've agreed to return, I won't lie to you," Yin Sanyang said seriously. Yin Feiyun nodded and signaled Yin Feiyun with her eyes. Then they left together. Before they left, Yin Feiyun turned around and glared at Yang Cheng. Of course, Yang Cheng ignored her. After the siblings left, the courtyard became quiet again. Yang Gongming ordered the servants to clean up the corpses of the guards and cremate them before handing them to their families. He also gave them the best compensation. Once everything was settled, he walked over to Yin Sanyang with a warm smile. "Sanyang, let's go to the back courtyard to talk." Yin Sanyang was waiting for this moment. Even though she was sad, she agreed with a smile and followed Yang Gongming to the backyard. Yang Cheng left the courtyard with Lin Ruoshi. When they returned to their courtyard, he asked, "Ruoshi, where's Mother? Why don't I see her?" Lin Ruoshi finally recovered from her nervousness. She looked haggard and said, It was very dangerous just now. Grandfather was afraid that mother would be affected, so he sent someone to bring her out to hide. I believe she'll be back soon. Yang Cheng praised the old man for being so calm in the face of danger. Suddenly, Lin Ruoxi bit her lips and hugged Yang Cheng's waist tightly. Yang Cheng was stunned. He smiled bitterly and said, "What's wrong? Why are you so passionate all of a sudden? I'm still stained with blood. It's not good to dirty you." Before he could finish, Yang Cheng couldn't continue. The woman was crying. Lin Ruoxi was like a helpless little girl. With her head on Yang Chen's chest, she tried her best to hold back her tears. However, she couldn't hold them back no matter how hard she tried. Tears kept flowing out of her eyes, drenching her shirt. Her shoulders trembled. The woman's body fragrance mixed with the smell of blood on her body was like a drug that made people cry. It was impossible to resist. Yang Cheng tried his best to smile and gently patted the woman's back. "Wife, why does it seem like I didn't win? I lost." Yang Cheng wanted to make the woman laugh, but he found that it was useless. I thought you were going to. You think I'm going to die?" Yang Cheng said what a woman couldn't say. Lin Ruoxi sobbed and didn't say anything. Yang Cheng felt helpless and ashamed. He had actually fallen to the point where his wife needed to worry about whether he would die or not. If this matter were to be spread to his subordinates abroad, would he still be able to survive? "In the future, I will work hard to train." Lin Ruoxi raised her head and gently wiped the corner of her eyes. Fortunately, women usually didn't put on makeup, otherwise their faces would definitely be painted. Cultivation cannot be rushed. It requires accumulation and comprehension. Yang Cheng caressed his lover's hair. "I also want to raise my cultivation as soon as possible, raise my realm, and comprehend more of the mysteries of heaven and earth." However, hard work was hard work. If you were to blindly train, it would only be counterproductive. So you just need to obediently follow my plan, and you will definitely be able to do it. Lin Ruoxi nodded and blinked her beautiful eyes. Under the moonlight, her cold appearance seemed to be extremely beautiful and refined, delicate and pitiful. "I'm very stupid about this kind of thing. If I'm not as good as other women in the future, you're not allowed to look down on me." Yang Cheng smiled. "Is that possible? If that's the case, then Ning, Er, and Xiang Wei, which one of them isn't 100 times stronger than you? I'm not biased towards them." "You really think they're 100 times stronger than me?" Lin Ruoxi pouted. The corner of Yang Cheng's eyes twitched. "This is only in terms of cultivation. Liar, Sigh. I was fine just now. Why are you jealous again?" Yang Cheng gloomily scratched his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. The couple laughed and joked around for a while, but it was also to adjust their mood. Just as Yang Cheng was about to grab Lin Ruoxi's hand and return to his room, he was stunned when he touched the Fengxiang bracelet on Lin Ruoxi's hand. Lin Ruoxi saw Yang Cheng's strange expression and thought that something had happened. "Hubby, what's wrong?" Yang Cheng raised Lin Ruoxi's wrist and looked at the jade bracelet that was glowing with a green light. His eyes were filled with doubt. At the same time, it was quiet in the backyard. Yang Gongming sat on a stone bench beside a small pond. Beside him was the young-looking Yin Sanyang. Yang Gongming looked at Yin Sanyang for a long time with a gentle expression on his face, causing Yin Sanyang's face to blush. "Master, I'm leaving," Yin Sanyang said after a long time. "Yes, I've always said that you might leave, but I didn't expect it to be now." Yang Gongming smiled faintly. Yin Sanyang's eyes were a little red as she looked at the grass and trees around her with longing. "I really can't bear to leave. I've lived for 60 to 70 years, but this is more like my real home. I still remember when Madame was still here and when young Master Pajun was born. This house was so lively. It's lively now, but that brat Yang Cheng doesn't listen to me." Yang Gongming laughed. Yin Sanyang smiled knowingly. "Yes, with young Master Chen around, Master won't be bored. It's a pity that young Master Chan is still in Zhonghai most of the time, but it's convenient for him to go back and forth. Most importantly, after Sanyang leaves, there's still someone to protect Master." The two of them fell into silence, as if they were reminiscing about something or waiting for something. Finally, Yang Gongming spoke. Sanyang, thank you. Yin Sanyang's body trembled, but she sounded a little bitter. Master, there's no need to thank me. Thank you for pretending to be old all these years so that you could stay by my side unnoticed and protect me. Thank you for being willing to lower yourself to do so many menial tasks for me and the Yang family. I also want to thank you for allowing my madam to be so on sheen when she leaves. Yin Sanyang's tears flowed down her cheeks. Master, this is what I should do. No, this isn't what you should do. Yang Gongming shook his head and smiled bitterly. I'm a shameless, thick-skinned, heartless old man who harmed you. Yin Sanyang hurriedly shook her head. Master, please don't say that. How could you harm me? I'm very happy here. Yang Gongming said with difficulty. Sanyang, I only hope that you don't hate me. I know why you stayed for so many years, but I can't betray her. I couldn't accept you back then, and now that I'm so old, I can't harm you. Yin Sanyang closed her eyes in agony. On the other hand, Yang Gongming seemed to be relieved after he finally said it. Luckily, you're still as beautiful as before. Yang Gongming smiled and said, I'm afraid we won't see each other again after you go back this time. I don't have many years left to live, but you still have a lot of time. You've wasted too many years on an old man like me. You have to be yourself in the future. Don't worry about this place anymore. The more Yin Sanyang spoke, the harder it was for her to hold back her tears. Yang Gongming seemed to have used up all his strength. In the end, he gritted his teeth and spat out 2 words. Take care. Time seemed to freeze under the starry sky. The world changed in the blink of an eye. The handsome man from back then was now silver-haired. It felt like a lifetime had passed. Chapter 1034. Hubby, you've been staring at it for so long. Why are you in a daze? Lin Ruoshi was a little angry when she saw Yang Chung staring at her fengxiang bracelet without replying. You say something. Let go of my hand if you don't say anything. Yang Chung, I'll sleep in separate rooms if you don't say anything. Oh, don't. Yang Chung woke up immediately and smiled embarrassedly. How can I say that? How can we sleep in separate rooms in the middle of the night? Lin Ruoshi rolled her eyes. Was there some kind of mechanism installed in this guy's head that he wouldn't react unless it was related to that kind of thing? What are you looking at? Lin Ruoshi asked gloomily. Yang Chung sighed. Ruoshi, your fengxiang bracelet is supposed to be a protective artifact, but why didn't it react when you were attacked by the old nun? Lin Ruoshi was puzzled when she heard that. Indeed, her bracelet was supposed to protect her. It was also because of this artifact that she was almost violated by Ning Guodong. Could it be that I wasn't in enough danger earlier? Lin Ruoshi guessed. Yang Chung shook his head. Yin Feiyu is more of a threat than Ning Guodong. It shouldn't have reacted this way. The couple stared at the fengxiang bracelet in a daze. At this moment, Yin Sanyang slowly walked over from the corridor. Yin Sanyang's expression had already calmed down, and she smiled sweetly. Young Master Chun, young mistress, what are you thinking about? Yang Chung and Lin Ruoshi turned around and saw the younger version of Grandma Yin. They were not used to it. Yang Chung thought that the old man must have been so clingy to Yin Sanyang because she was pretty. He really did have a hereditary trait. I'm innocent. Lin Ruoshi, on the other hand, thought that she must cultivate well. She was already in her 60s or 70s, but she was still so young. Cultivation was indeed more reliable than any beauty products. Granny Yin, it's great that you're here. Before you leave, analyze this fengxiang bangle for us, Yang Chung said. Fengxiang bracelet? Yin Sanyang was puzzled. What's wrong with this bracelet? Yang Chung did not hide anything as he explained that the fengxiang bracelet was a Dharma treasure and that it did not activate this time. As expected, Yin Sanyang was astonished. When Madam was still alive, I never heard that this bracelet was a Dharma treasure. I didn't expect it to be so mysterious. Granny Yin, I've always been curious. Why can't you tell that this is an artifact? Yang Chung asked. Young Master Chun, not every Dharma treasure is easy to identify, Yin Sanyang said. If the grade of the Dharma treasure is too high and it has the ability to conceal spiritual energy, not to mention a mid-divine transformation cultivator like me. Even a tribulation passing stage cultivator might not be able to identify it. Yang Cheng understood that it was because he was exceptionally sensitive to the spiritual energy between heaven and earth that he noticed the uniqueness of the bracelet. At the same time, he was certain that the grade of the bracelet was not low. According to young master, the reason why the Fengxiang bangle failed to protect its owner must have something to do with young mistress herself, Yin Sanyang said. The higher the grade of the Dharma treasure, the more spiritual it is. If the Fengxiang bangle is a high-grade Dharma treasure, it would require someone of similar cultivation to use it. Young mistress does not have any cultivation and can only be considered as an ordinary person. The condition for the Fengxiang bangle to activate is that the opponent must be an ordinary person as well. If a tribulation passing stage cultivator, like my second sister, attacked, the Fengxiang bangle would definitely be able to sense it. Even if it tried to defend itself, it would not have enough true yuan to support it. Hence, it chose to give up on defending itself. Yang Cheng was enlightened, but he felt a little gloomy. Even if he gave the Dharma treasure to Lin Ruoxi, it would only be effective if Lin Ruoxi could use it. Lin Ruoxi was a little disappointed. It seemed like she had to make use of her time to cultivate. Otherwise, she would be a burden to Yang Cheng even though she had such a good Dharma treasure. After explaining the reason, Yang Cheng suddenly remembered and asked, "Is Granny Yin leaving? Are you here to bid farewell?" Yin Sanyang smiled and nodded. "Yes, but before I leave, I have something to say to young Master Chun." Lin Ruoxi was about to enter the house when she heard that. Yin Sanyang said, "Young mistress, there's no need to leave. You can listen to what I have to say, it's fine." Lin Ruoxi was a little confused, but also a little curious, so she stayed. "Granny Yin, don't tell me you want me to take good care of my old man. You don't have to tell me that. I'm not going to abandon him." Yang Cheng smiled. Yin Sanyang shook her head and looked serious. "No, I want to talk about Hong Ming." "Hong Ming, that's right," Yin Sanyang said dejectedly. "Young Master Chun, you know why I escaped from the illusory realm back then. In fact, my father, Yin Wuchen, was one of the heaven-rank elders of Hong Ming. He was also one of the leaders of Hong Ming. His cultivation was unfathomable. When I left, I was already at the second stage of the 6th frost water tribulation, the dark water stage. If I'm not mistaken, I'm at least at the weak water stage now. As for an elder like my father, his cultivation is almost at the peak of Hong Ming. No one has heard of the 9 heavenly thunder tribulation beyond that in the past few thousand years. No one knows if there's a cultivation technique that can reach it." Yang Cheng was happy to hear this. It seemed like he had picked up a treasure. Moreover, there was no one in Hong Ming who could pass through the 9 heavenly thunder tribulation, so he could relax a little. Legend has it that to reach the peak and break through the void, one needs to pass through the jade clear heavenly thunder tribulation of the 9 heavenly thunder tribulation. Even a cultivator at the weak water stage cannot live more than 1,000 years. Therefore, everyone in Hong Ming and the hidden clans are trying to break through the shackles and obtain the true inheritance of the ancient cultivation technique so that they can advance to the stage where they can challenge the 9 heavenly thunder tribulation. Yang Cheng felt suffocated. The people from the Luo clan who wanted to snatch his cultivation technique must have known that he had a cultivation technique. However, he had only met people from the Luo clan who wanted to snatch his cultivation technique. It was obvious that the Luo clan were not stupid. If others knew that he was a fat meat, it would be difficult to target him. However, how did the people from the Luo clan know that he had the cultivation technique they wanted? Yin Sanyang continued. It was because of this that the people of Hong Ming became more and more uneasy and fearful after thousands of years of hard work and failure. Initially, everyone entered Hong Ming to not disturb the secular world and to focus on enlightenment in order to break through the void. However, everyone realized that no matter how hard they cultivated, they could not reach the stage of immortality. This way, they would not be able to focus on enlightenment after suffering so many setbacks. Therefore, the people of Hong Ming gradually became selfish. Everyone was thinking about how to live a few more years and improve their realm and cultivation in order to find a cultivation technique that could allow them to break through to the 9 heavenly thunder tribulation. As for the secular world and the people of Huaxia, no one cared too much about them. This situation had been going on for thousands of years. In the past few hundred years, the situation had become more and more serious. If it wasn't for the fact that many of the yellow-ranked people had just joined Hongmeng and were still concerned about the situation in the outside world, the envoys from Hongmeng would have already left. This was also why General Lin Jigua of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade did not even believe in the existence of the Hongmeng envoys. Hongmeng is already rotten. Everyone is selfish and fights for resources to improve their cultivation and increase their lifespans. No one cares about the lives of the common people anymore. Moreover, some of the elders like my father are starting to think that the heavens and earth are heartless. The common people are just ants in the heavens, and their lives are just fate. Yang Cheng sneered. I think they are just finding excuses for themselves. Everyone wants to shirk their responsibilities and focus on their own cultivation. No wonder the people of Hongmeng are so shameless and want to snatch anything good. They don't care about their image at all. Yin Sanyang nodded. That's right. Everyone has abandoned the will of their ancestors. Hongmeng is no longer the Hongmeng it used to be. But, Yang Cheng frowned. Why is Granny Yin telling me all this? Yin Sanyang pursed her lips and smiled. Young Master Chun, I'm telling you all this because I feel that you are the only one who has the ability to change everything. Change everything? Yang Cheng was even more confused. That's right, Yin Sanyang said earnestly. I hope that one day, young Master Chun will be able to cleanse the entire Hongmeng. You'll be able to wipe out all those selfish people who claim that the heavens and earth are not benevolent and deliberately hoard Hongmeng's resources. Even if it's my father, if he is unwilling to repent, I have nothing to say. Yang Cheng's face stiffened. Granny Yin, this is a little too much. You don't have to be so serious. Even though I want to, I don't have the ability. Lin Ruashi looked worried as well. She did not want her man to risk his life for the sake of the world. Everyone has their own selfish motives. Even though you are not strong enough to challenge the whole of Hongmeng, Hongmeng is already your enemy. Are you just going to sit and wait for your death? Of course not. Yang Cheng said, from today onwards, I plan to focus on my cultivation. Even though I can't make tremendous progress in a short period of time, I should at least correct my attitude. Yin Sanyang smiled in relief. That's the right thing to do, but it's not enough. Cultivation can't be achieved overnight just by being serious. Since I've said all this today, I naturally want to help young Master Chun. Chapter 1035. Yang Cheng's eyes lit up when he heard this. Could it be that Granny Yin is hiding some sort of treasure? A supreme grade pill? Or an immortal weapon? Yin Sanyang couldn't help but wipe her forehead. She looked rather cute in her youthful appearance, but she was not used to it. Of course not. An immortal weapon is not something someone like me can touch. Then what help is it? Yin Sanyang fished out a folded piece of paper from her pocket. The paper was folded in half, but it was obviously filled with words. Young Master Chun, this is the art of alchemy that I recorded before I came here. Please keep it well, and remember to destroy it after reading it. Just memorize it. Art of alchemy. Yang Cheng was puzzled. Granny Yin, you want me to refine pills? Yin Sanyang pursed her lips and smiled. That's right, young Master Chun. Don't underestimate this art of alchemy. This is a method passed down from our ancestors. Although there are many methods of alchemy in Hongmeng, our Yin clan's method is one of the most well-preserved. Although normal pills are not very useful for a tribulation passing stage cultivator, if you can refine a supreme grade pill, it will definitely increase your cultivation rapidly. Unfortunately, alchemy requires the Samadhi true fire. The reason why pills are scarce in Hongmeng is because the Samadhi true fire requires a large amount of precious materials to be obtained. Normally, there are not many pills that can be refined with the Samadhi true fire. But young Master Chun is different. If nothing goes wrong with your method, you will be able to use the Samadhi true fire without end. When that time comes, with this art of alchemy, You will be like a tiger that has grown wings. Yang Chung understood. Although he had not yet mastered the Samadhi true fire, he had already mastered the Kuei water. If he pondered a little more, he should be able to master it in a short period of time. In this case, alchemy would be a great help. But he hesitated. Granny Yin, even if I want to refine pills, I need the materials first. Yin Sanyang smiled bitterly. This is all I can do for you. Although the Yin clan's northern dark eye soul is profound, it will not be of much use to you. If young Master Chun wanted to concoct pills, he would have to settle the matter of ingredients by himself. Hong Ming and the hidden clans all had their own alchemy ingredients in the illusion. They also had some private collections, but the supply could not meet the demand. Why don't young Master Chin think of a way to search around the world? I believe that with young Master Chin's influence and understanding of the world, you might be able to find more. Yang Chung asked doubtfully, Granny Yin, if there were medicinal herbs all over the world, wouldn't they have all been robbed by Hong Ming and the hidden clans? When will it be my turn? Yin Sanyang shook her head and smiled. I won't, young Master Chun. Have you forgotten that according to the Treaty of Gods, if a cultivator from Huaxia steps out of Huaxia's territory, it would be equivalent to going against the gods. An ordinary cultivator from Huaxia would not be a match for the 12 gods. Those who passed their tribulation would also be worried that they would run into powerful gods like Poseidon and Apollo. If they were to run into Athena, it would be a one-way trip. Even if Athena has not appeared for a long time, no one would dare to take the risk. But young Master Chun is different. In the eyes of the gods, you are not an outsider, and Hong Ming would not care about you. Therefore, if there really was a treasure outside of China, no one would necessarily fight with young Master Chun for it. However, young Master Chun does not know much about alchemy ingredients, and I don't know much about the recipe either. I did not dare to write anything down. I only wrote down the method of concocting pills. When Yang Chung heard this, he was both happy and depressed. He sighed with a complicated expression. I understand. There is hope, but I still have to find my own recipe and ingredients. Yin Sanyang smiled helplessly. I'm sorry, young Master Chun. This is all I can help you with. I believe that with young Master Chin's wit, you will find a way. The first person that came to Yang Cheng's mind was Xiao Qiqing in Zhonghai. If he remembered correctly, Xiao Qiqing once said that among the 3 great hidden clans, the Shao clan was the best at concocting pills. If she was really well-versed in cultivation, he might be able to get the answers he needed from her. Thank you, Granny Yin. It will be a long time before we meet again. Take care. Yang Chung bid his farewell solemnly, and Lin Ruoxi also bid her farewell sadly. Yin Sanyang's eyes were filled with tears of reluctance, but she smiled and left the Yang mansion in a flash. The woman who had accompanied Yang Gongming for more than 40 years left reluctantly, but she left without hesitation. After staring at the deep night sky for a long time, Yang Chung turned around and hugged his wife's slender waist. Let's go back to the room. Lin Ruoxi knew that Yang Chung must have a plan in mind, so she didn't say anything and nodded obediently. After entering the room, Yang Chung let Lin Ruoxi take a bath first, while he memorized the pill concocting method that Yin Sanyang had given him. He studied it carefully before burning the paper to ashes. When Lin Ruoxi came out of the bathroom, she was already dressed in a translucent silk nightgown. Under the dim light, the woman's exquisite figure was like a beautiful jade, swaying in and out of sight. She couldn't help but lower her head, her wet hair swaying gently like a waterfall. Because the heater was on in the room and the floor was cleaned by the servants, it was very clean. Therefore, the woman didn't wear shoes, and her snow-white bare feet stepped on the floor like a lotus flower emerging from the water. Now that Yang Chung was in the mood to study the pill concocting method, he took a big step forward and was about to make a move. Stop right there. Lin Ruoxi seemed to have expected this man's temper, and her willowy eyebrows were raised, and her eyes were cold as she said, You've been dirty all day. Don't touch me until you take a bath. Left with no other choice, Yang Chung smiled embarrassedly and rushed into the bathroom, whistling as he took a bath. After he was done, He came out of the door and saw that Lin Ruashi wasn't lying on the bed, but was sitting at the study table outside, looking at something with her laptop open. Yang Cheng was wearing a pair of large underpants, and his upper body was bare. When he walked behind the woman to take a look, his face immediately fell. "Darling Ruashi, do you have to work so hard?" Yang Cheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Lin Ruashi was actually using Yulei's company management system to review the official documents that Zhao Hongyan had sent to her. Lin Ruashi's slender fingers slid on the touchscreen, and from time to time, she marked something and made a few hooks and replied without turning her head, "I've already fallen behind a lot of work. It's not like you don't know. I've acquired so many new real estate and small companies. There are a lot of things to do. I won't be able to finish all of them in half a year. Let others do it. Chinny and Mingyu are busy enough. Why don't we hire a professional manager? Anyway, they'll pay more, and it'll be fine if they look at the reports regularly, right? How can I do that? If I lose my job, what will the employees think of me? What will the people who accompanied me all the way, who followed me no matter the difficulties, think? I know we don't lack money, and you don't care too much about Yulei, but it means something to me. My hard work can help tens of thousands of employees, and their families have a source of income. This is something very meaningful," Lin Ruashi said seriously. But it's almost 2 in the morning. Yang Cheng was a little aggrieved. Lin Ruashi couldn't help but find it funny when she heard the man's tone of voice, especially aggrieved. She turned around and hooked her finger at Yang Cheng with a smile. Yang Cheng was overjoyed. He moved his face closer and snickered. "Wife, what do you want to whisper to me? It's just the two of us. Yet we're still playing this game." Lin Ruashi suddenly gave him a small kiss on the cheek and patted Yang Cheng's face. "Little hubby, be good. Your wife has to work. Can you go to sleep first?" After saying these words in a coaxing tone, the woman turned around again and continued to read the documents with a normal expression. All the conflicted expressions on Yang Cheng's face froze together, and he turned around and threw himself onto the big bed with a hidden bitterness. What a pity. The little brother of his lower body had been holding on for a while, but in the end, it was such a blow. It was completely soft. Although he had already forcefully pushed down a woman once in Yulei International, she was still his woman, not a street girl. How could he force her every time? Perhaps it was possible once, but how could it be done twice or thrice? Moreover, Lin Ruashi clearly had a lot of things to do. It wasn't that Yang Cheng didn't know what to do, but the way the woman treated him almost made Yang Cheng go crazy. Chapter 1036. In desperation, Yang Cheng could only sit on the big bed and silently watch the woman review the documents while thinking about the Samadhi True Fire. After waiting for nearly an hour, Lin Ruashi finally finished all the necessary work. She stretched, covered her mouth, and yawned cutely, then got up and turned around. Seeing that Yang Cheng was looking at her eagerly under the quilt, Lin Ruashi couldn't help but roll her eyes at him. "Does it have to be tonight? I've been tired for the whole day. The wedding is in the day, and there are so many things to do at night. Can we do it another day?" Yang Cheng was disappointed, but there was nothing he could do. He couldn't force Lin Ruashi to use his true essence to stimulate her and drag her to die with this woman. "Dear, what are you thinking about? I am waiting for you to sleep together in order to share the joys and sorrows." Yang Cheng's expression was full of seriousness. Lin Ruashi chuckled, climbed onto the bed silently, and shrank into the quilt. Lying close to him, Yang Cheng could smell the fragrant jasmine fragrance on the woman's body, mixed with a faint milky fragrance. The pleasant smell was intoxicating. Under the bedside lamp, Lin Ruashi's skin was like transparent white porcelain, pink with a hint of rouge, and her delicate red lips were seductive. "Why are you in a daze? Stop looking and turn off the light." Lin Ruashi was indeed a little tired. After all, she was not Yang Cheng. Sleeping or not was actually a habit and lazy thought. After Yang Cheng quickly turned off the light, he lay down and hugged Lin Ruashi face to face into his arms. The two of them faced each other and could breathe each other's breath. What made Yang Cheng even more satisfied was that Lin Ruashi's full chest was tightly pressed against his body. The two exquisite pink flesh and protruding tips touched his skin through the silk nightgown. It was exceptionally smooth. Although Lin Ruoshi's body wasn't as soft as Xue Jiqing's, it was unusually supple and supple. It was as if every inch of her body was perfectly formed. Caressing her from her back down, she was in perfect proportions. Lin Ruoshi shrank back and muttered, "Stop touching. Sleep." In the darkness, Yang Cheng smiled and left one hand on the woman's full buttocks. It was as if his palm was covered with a fleshy hemisphere, very elastic. Although Lin Ruoshi knew that the man was still up to no good, she was not in the mood to care about it. She simply continued to close her eyes and try to sleep. However, as the two of them continued to breathe, the hot air from their noses kept reaching Lin Ruoshi's eyelashes and cheeks. It was hot and wet. Lin Ruoshi couldn't sleep no matter how hard she tried, so she could only move her body and turn around. This way, Yang Chen's hand landed on empty air. Lin Ruoshi's back was facing him, leaving him a beautiful view of the back of her head. Yang Cheng smelled the fragrance of the woman's thick hair, but he couldn't be happy. The corners of his mouth twitched a few times. Yang Cheng reached out and turned on the bedside light. The dazzling light made Lin Ruoshi pout coquettishly. "What are you doing?" "I said I want to sleep." Yang Cheng sat up with a serious expression and said indignantly, "Lin Ruoshi, get up." Hearing the man call her name so seriously, Lin Ruoshi could only sit up obediently and asked with a pout, "What are you doing? What's with your attitude?" Lin Ruoshi looked at the aggrieved Yang Cheng and asked doubtfully, "What's wrong with me? I already said that I'm too tired tonight. We'll talk about it tomorrow or the day after tomorrow." Yang Cheng shook his head. "I'm not talking about that. I want to ask you, why do you have to turn your back to me when I'm hugging you to sleep like this? It's only been a few days since our wedding, and we've just started. You're already leaving me the back of your head. You're abusing your husband." Lin Ruoshi no longer had her usual cold temperament. She pouted in a daze and said, "I didn't. It's the heat coming out of your nose that makes me unable to sleep." "Heat?" Yang Cheng came to a realization. He quickly took out 2 napkins from a napkin box on the bedside table and kneaded them into 2 small balls. Lin Ruoshi looked at the man curiously, not knowing what he was going to do. Following that, she saw Yang Cheng stuff the 2 paper balls into his nose. Because the paper balls were too big, there were 2 white strips of paper floating outside. Yang Cheng said in a muffled voice, "All right, now that I can't breathe through my nose, I won't let my wife sleep with the back of her head facing me, even if I have to suffocate to death." Lin Ruoshi was about to go crazy, but she didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Looking at the man's strange expression and how he said those words so seriously, no matter how strong her drowsiness was, there was no trace of it. "Hey!" Lin Ruoshi removed the tissue from Yang Cheng's nose and threw it aside. She looked at the man in amusement and anger. "What are you doing? Didn't you dislike my breathing?" Yang Cheng asked unhappily. Lin Ruoshi reached out her hand and pinched Yang Cheng's face. "No wonder Mom told me that men are children who haven't grown up. Look at you. You used to look quite mature and elegant. Why are you becoming more and more childish recently? You even learned to act coquettishly with me. Am I your wife, or am I going to be your mother?" Yang Cheng scratched the back of his head. "I'm fighting for the rights that a husband deserves." Lin Ruoshi sighed dejectedly. All right, stop pretending to be pitiful. I promise you, I won't turn around, okay?" Yang Cheng immediately beamed. "That's good. Come, lie down again. I'll turn off the lights." Thus, the 2 of them once again lay down in their original positions. Yang Cheng hugged the woman in satisfaction, not forgetting to put his hand back to its original position. However, after such a torment, not to mention Yang Cheng's drowsiness was mostly gone, Lin Ruoshi had already been tossed around and was no longer sleepy. The 2 of them listened to each other's breathing for nearly half an hour. "Wife, I can't sleep. What should I do?" Yang Cheng asked. Lin Ruoshi weakly exhaled. "Me to hiss." Yang Cheng suddenly said, "How about this, Ruoshi baby? Sing me a lullaby? You know how to sing a lullaby, the kind that children sing? What kind of thinking is this? It's not as good as counting sheep." "Sheep? That's food. It's easy to drool when you count it. If there's saliva on the pillow, I don't mind, but I can't let my wife smell my saliva, right?" Lin Ruashi was afraid that the man would say something shocking again, so she could only say, "All right, I'll sing a lullaby, but I don't know the lyrics very well. You can make do with it. After listening to it, go to sleep obediently." And in, Lin Ruashi suddenly felt like she was coaxing a child to sleep, but she didn't have a booklet. She could only hope that the man would be more normal after dawn. Clearing her throat, Lin Ruashi reached out and gently patted her husband's back. She sang softly, "Sleep, sleep, my dear baby. Mother's hands are gently rocking you. The cradle is rocking you. Sleep peacefully. The night is quiet, the bed is warm." As he sang, Yang Cheng's body suddenly trembled. Lin Ruashi was startled and jumped in fright. She quickly asked, "Hubby, what's wrong?" Yang Cheng suddenly sat up and hurriedly turned on the light switch. In an instant, the room was lit up again. Lin Ruashi opened her innocent eyes wide and looked at Yang Cheng, who was panting. She was scared. After a while, Yang Cheng turned around stiffly and looked at Lin Ruashi, who was still in a daze. He said bitterly, "Dear, I was wrong." "What do you mean? I forgot that you're tone deaf." Lin Ruashi gradually understood. She actually thought that her singing was bad. In fact, what the woman didn't understand was that it wasn't that her singing was bad, but that there was no rhythm at all. If you think my singing is bad, then don't listen to it. Sleep." Lin Ruashi blushed and was about to turn around. However, Yang Cheng turned sideways and directly lay on top of Lin Ruashi's body. He pressed his face tightly down and moved closer to Lin Ruashi's eyes. Lin Ruashi closed her eyes and didn't want to pay attention to the man. "Wife," Yang Cheng said with a mischievous smile. "Originally, I was really going to sleep, but the lullaby you sang was simply an alarm clock song. I'm very energetic now. I'm not sleepy at all. What does it have to do with me?" Lin Ruashi muttered. Yang Cheng swallowed his saliva. "Of course it has to do with you. Look, it's almost 4 in the morning. If this goes on, it'll be dawn soon. There's no point in us sleeping anymore. Why don't we do something meaningful?" Chapter 10:37. Lin Ruashi blushed and her heart raced. Actually, she already knew that the man was thinking about that again. Although they had already broken the barrier, she still felt that it was embarrassing to do such a thing. She pretended that she didn't know what Yang Cheng wanted to do. She tightened her body and pulled the blanket without saying a word. However, Yang Cheng licked his lips. The more shy and nervous Lin Ruashi was, the more he wanted to conquer her. Yang Cheng smiled evilly and quietly crawled 2 steps back, retreating from Lin Ruashi's body. Lin Ruashi felt her body loosen up. She thought that the man had no choice but to retreat to the side. However, she immediately realized that something was wrong. Lin Ruashi could feel a gust of cold wind coming from the back of her feet. She could clearly feel that the blanket had been lifted from beneath her feet. Following that, Lin Ruashi couldn't help but let out a scream. You, what are you doing?" Lin Ruashi realized that Yang Cheng had crawled in from behind the blanket. His 2 strong palms were grabbing onto her 2 pink legs. He even pushed her nightgown up from below. It was as if a raging bull had pushed her dress open, leaving only a thin purple lace underwear underneath. Perhaps it was because she had entered the stage of a mature young married woman, but Lin Ruashi was still wearing the sexy underwear that he hadn't had much contact with before. A thin ribbon was embedded into her plump buttocks. Wearing it was equivalent to wearing nothing. Yang Cheng was so excited that it was as if he had discovered a new continent. He crawled in from under the blanket and directly faced the woman's 2 long and elastic legs. He then broke through from the center. It was full of the strong impact brought by the female hormones. Between his nose and mouth, other than the fragrance of the blanket that had been basked in the sun, it was filled with the fragrance of a woman. Adrenaline secreted rapidly, causing Yang Cheng to involuntarily let out a low growl. Lin Ruashi's face was flushed red. Her beautiful face seemed to be dyed with the sunset glow. Ugh, itchy. Lin Ruashi tried to intertwine her thighs to prevent the man from entering, but she couldn't muster any strength. The movement of his 2 legs made Yang Cheng feel extremely comfortable. His face was tightly pressed against the tender flesh on the inside of his thighs, like two bundles of elastic cotton. Unknowingly, Yang Cheng's breath had already appeared at the base of Lin Ruoshi's thigh. That sensitive and delicate area was suffering an unprecedented erotic attack. Lin Ruoshi didn't dare to lift the blanket and look down because the man's head was pressing against her private part. She didn't even need to think. She knew what he was doing just from the feeling there. Lin Ruoshi didn't even dare to imagine this kind of intimate method between a man and a woman, but Yang Cheng seemed to do it without hesitation. The woman could not help but tremble. Her tender skin revealed a captivating redness, and her eyes were filled with intoxication. Under Yang Cheng's teasing, the stream below quickly gushed out a trickle. Although it was unimaginable to be touched by a man's tongue, Lin Ruoshi shyly discovered that she actually felt an incomparably strong sensation. After a full 10 minutes, Lin Ruoshi finally reached the peak. After a long period of ecstasy, her body straightened up, her mouth opened slightly, and she panted tenderly. Her eyes were even a little empty. At this time, Yang Cheng crawled out of the blanket. His face was flushed red from holding his breath. He grinned and reached out to wipe the moisture off his face. "Wife, your fountain is too turbulent, I'll let you feel good first. Now it's my turn to feel good." Only then did Lin Ruoshi come back to her senses. Seeing the water stains on the man's face, she didn't even need to think to know that they were hers. Turning her head away, Lin Ruoshi's cheeks were burning. She simply closed her eyes and said in a weak voice, I don't know anything." Yang Cheng laughed out loud. If he said a few more words like this, the thin-skinned woman would probably cry. However, speaking of which, this was the first time he had done such a thing for a woman. Although he had touched so many women in the past, and they had all served him, he had never done it for a woman so carefully. However, Yang Cheng didn't have the time to think about this. The swelling down below made him unable to control himself. Lying on Lin Ruoshi's soft body, after finding his target, Yang Cheng finally entered the gentle land that he had been yearning for day and night. When the unique stimulation was filled, Yang Cheng couldn't help but let out a long breath. If it wasn't for his durability, he would probably be disarmed in a few minutes. As Lin Ruoshi unconsciously let out a beast-like moan from her throat, Yang Cheng moved wildly. Outside the house, the cold wave was rustling, but inside the house, it was full of spring after a night of sex. The couple, who had officially shared a room, lay in bed until noon the next day. It was only after the servants had prepared the meal, and Guo Shuehua specially came over to call them a few times before the two got up. Although Yang Cheng didn't need special sleep. Looking at Lin Ruoshi sleeping like a koala in his arms, Yang Cheng naturally couldn't bear to get up. After being woken up by Guo Shuehua, Lin Ruoshi realized that she had slept until lunchtime. Embarrassed and annoyed, she hit Yang Cheng's chest a few times. She felt that in front of everyone in the Yang family, she had completely become a lazy woman. She might even be regarded as a vicious woman. Sure enough, after washing up, on the way to the dining room, the servants of the Yang family looked over with strange smiles. Of course, it could also be Lin Ruoshi's own psychological effect, but for someone as thick-skinned as Yang Cheng, he naturally didn't feel anything. When they arrived at an antique dining room in the backyard, Yang Gongming and Guo Shuehua were already waiting. What surprised the couple was that Yang Pejun was also there. The man who had taken off his military uniform and was wearing a plain sweater and long johns looked less profound and more rustic. The only thing that didn't change was that he still looked at Yang Cheng with a sour expression. Seeing Yang Cheng enter the door, Yang Pejun snorted coldly. "You let the elders in the family wait for more than half an hour for lunch. You have no respect for your elders." Yang Cheng frowned but didn't say anything. Instead, it was Lin Ruoshi who weakly said, "I'm sorry." Guo Shuehua gave Yang Pejun a look and said, "You are really too much. Young people are always more sleepy. Do you think everyone is like you, living like a soldier every day and not letting others have a good night's sleep? Ruoshi, come and sit by my side. Don't be afraid of him. Your father-in-law is like this. He didn't really scold you." Yang Cheng heard the meaning behind her words. It seemed that his mother had reconciled with Yang Pejuan, and they might have slept together again last night. Actually, after experiencing so much, Yang Cheng was more open about whether Yang Pejuan was his biological father or how he treated him. It wasn't because he was broad-minded, nor was it because he longed for fatherly love. It was just that standing at his level, a harmless Yang Pejuan could be nice to him. Even if he wasn't, what could he do? Instead of being angry with him, he might as well turn a blind eye to it, so that his mother and his wife could have their own sheen. No matter what, the relationship between people wasn't a one-to-one relationship. Especially after he decided to return to the Yang family, Yang Cheng gradually realized that he had to consider the people around him before making a decision. Yang Gongming asked the servant to pour him some white wine. He took a sip and chuckled. It's been a long time since I've had lunch with so many people. I'm in a good mood. Ha, don't laugh at me. Looking at the old man's glowing face, he didn't seem to be affected by Yin Sanyang's departure. However, be it Guishuahua or Yang Pejuan, they weren't used to the sudden absence of a woman at home. They looked a little sad. Yin Sanyang had watched Yang Pejuan grow up and watched Yang Pejuan get married. It was impossible that she didn't have a deep relationship with him. When everyone started eating, the atmosphere became harmonious. Guishuahua knew that her son and daughter-in-law were already in the same room. She was very happy and kept putting food into Lin Ruashi's bowl, praising her. Yang Cheng ate quietly. He only answered when Yang Gongming asked questions. He didn't want to look at Yang Pejuan. When they were almost done, Yang Gongming suddenly asked, Yang Cheng, Ruashi, when do you plan to go back to Zhonghai? Lin Ruashi looked at Yang Cheng. She had to let Yang Cheng make the decision in front of the elders. There's nothing much to do in Beijing. Let's go back this afternoon or tomorrow. Yang Cheng smiled and asked, why? Old man, are you lonely? Do you want me to introduce you to sunset love? What nonsense are you talking about? Yang Pejuan reprimanded. Yang Cheng rolled his eyes. I'm not introducing you. What's the rush? You enough. Guishuahua tried to smooth things over. Yang Pejuan, what are you doing? Dad didn't say anything. Yang Cheng has always been a playboy. You'll get used to it if you listen to him more. Yang Cheng was confused. Was she helping him or hurting him? As expected, Yang Gongming did not care at all. He continued, what I mean is, you guys have to leave after tomorrow. Why? Sigh. Young people nowadays don't even remember the Mid-Autumn Festival. Yang Gongming said with some pity. Mid-Autumn Festival? Yang Cheng was stunned. It was almost the middle of September. It really was the Mid-Autumn Festival. In the past, he was single and didn't care about the Mid-Autumn Festival. Now that he had a family, it seemed that celebrating the Mid-Autumn Festival was something new.